Chapter 4298. Dong. At the critical moment, the golden bells rang in unison, and hundreds of conch girls flew out of the Light and Shadow Dragon Palace. These conch girls either struck the bells, played the zither, or blew the bamboo flute. In the sound of the zither and bamboo, the whirlwind and dragon scales that rushed up disappeared. Looking at the stairs again, a whirlpool appeared, and a dozen dragon generals stepped out. The one with the crown in front was the fourth prince, Ao Qian. When Ao Qian saw Xiao Hua, he immediately bowed and shouted, "Junior Ao Qian greets Dragon Master Xiao." "Hee, so it's the fourth prince. I saw you in the folded jade legacy realm. No need to be too polite." How could Xiao Hua let Ao Qian really bow? He hurriedly raised his hand to support his body and smiled. Ao Qian's face was filled with shame as he said, "Junior is really sorry. That day in the folded jade legacy realm, I actually misunderstood Dragon Master. If it wasn't for Dragon Master that day, it would have been impossible for us to come out of the legacy realm. When Junior came out of the legacy realm, I deliberately waited outside for half a day, wanting to apologize and thank Dragon Master in person. Later, when I heard that Senior became the Dragon Master of my dragon race, Junior was happier than anyone else. Junior had always hoped that Dragon Master would come to my South Sea Dragon Palace. I really didn't expect that Junior's dream would come true today. I really have to thank the heavens." While speaking, Ao Qian was about to bow again. Looking at the surprise on Ao Qian's face, it really didn't seem fake. Xiao Hua's heart warmed as he helped Ao Qian up and said, "Fourth Prince, you don't have to be too polite. There's no need to say thank you. That day, I was also forced into a dangerous situation and had no choice but to risk my life." Ao Qian smiled and said, "You don't have to say thank you, but an apology is necessary. Junior wronged Dragon Master. If I can't apologize, Junior won't be able to sleep and eat in peace." Xiao Hua was helpless and could only let him bow a few times. Then he helped him up and said, "The situation that day was unclear, so it's normal that Fourth Prince didn't understand. Now that the truth has been revealed, we don't need to say any more." Yes. Ao Qian stood up, looked at Xiao Hua, and smiled happily again. It's only been a few hundred years. Senior's cultivation has advanced by leaps and bounds. Junior is really envious. Hee, lucky. Xiao Hua smiled and didn't say much. He looked behind Ao Qian and said, "Dragon King is in the palace? This Xiao has something to trouble you with." Ao Qian replied, "I'm sorry to disappoint you, Dragon Master Xiao. Father has gone to the East Sea Dragon Palace for a banquet. He's not in the Dragon Palace right now." Xiao Hua was quite disappointed and asked, "Then when will your Majesty Dragon King return?" "Not necessarily," Ao Qian said. "It could be 10 days or 10 years. Xiao Hua was a bit hesitant. He didn't know if he should let the fourth prince send a message to Ao Concrete. After all, the matter he asked the South Sea Dragon King for was not a small matter. Seeing Xiao Hua's hesitation, Ao Qian hurriedly smiled and said, "Dragon Master Xiao, since you've come to my South Sea Dragon Palace, you should let this junior do his duty as a host. If Master Long has anything to say, you can tell this junior. If this junior can make a decision, this junior will work for senior. If this junior can't make a decision, then this junior can send a message to Royal Father and even ask Royal Father to come back." Yes, Fourth Prince's words are reasonable. This Xiao pondered for a moment and nodded. This Xiao thinks. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to finish speaking, Ao Qian interrupted him and asked with a smile, "Haha, Dragon Master Xiao, this is not the place to talk. How about Master Long follow this junior to the main hall of the Dragon Palace? This junior will first set up a banquet to entertain senior. How about we talk while drinking?" "Very good." Xiao Hua didn't doubt him and nodded. "Master Long, please." Ao Qian was overjoyed. He turned around and signaled Xiao Hua to go first. Xiao Hua also smiled slightly and raised his hand. "Fourth Prince, please." "All right, this junior will lead the way." Fourth Prince said politely and took the lead to step on the waves of the whirlpool. Xiao Hua released his divine sense and took a rough look. He also stepped on the waves. The dragon generals brought by the fourth prince followed behind Xiao Hua. The walls of the passage formed by the whirlpool were rotating seawater. The rotation of the seawater caused a huge rumbling sound. Just like a transmission passage, The rotation of the seawater sent Xiao Hua and Ao Qian to the bottom of the sea. Even before walking out of the whirlpool, Xiao Hua already saw that several thousand li of the bottom of the sea was covered by layers upon layers of palaces. These palaces were similar in style to the palaces on the Dragon Island. They were all abnormally simple and unadorned. However, there was a kind of luxury in this unadorned simplicity. The so-called splendor of gold and jade was nothing more than a kind of vulgarity in this place. At the end of the passage was a huge palace with the same light and shadow as the surface of the sea. The two words, Southern Sea, were written on the signboard. The gate of this palace wasn't open. Instead, there was a gate on the left side of the gate that couldn't be considered small. In front of that gate, there were also members of the water race standing respectfully. Xiao Hua followed Ao Qian and landed. His gaze swept across the entire palace and his brows slightly wrinkled. This palace had no less than 9 palace gates. Other than the huge golden gate in the middle, the two sides were vermilion yellow gates. He didn't know what material the gates were made of. The vermilion yellow surface concealed strange dragon characters. Although the dragon characters were in the form of characters, in Xiao Hua's eyes, they actually transformed into hundreds of huge dragons coiling in front of the palace gates. A kind of majestic dragon might pounced on Xiao Hua from inside the palace gates. Xiao Hua naturally didn't care about this dragon might. His slightly wrinkled brows were also seen by Ao Qian. Ao Qian hurriedly smiled apologetically and said, "I'll let Dragon Teacher Xiao know that Dragon Teacher has graced my Southern Sea Dragon Palace with your presence. My Southern Sea Dragon Palace naturally has to open the gate in the middle to welcome you. However, my royal father isn't in the palace. This junior also doesn't have the qualifications to open the Dragon Palace. Therefore, I can only inconvenience Dragon Teacher to use the palace gates that my Dragon Palace of the Four Seas normally uses to welcome seniors." Xiao Hua understood. He casually waved his hand and said with a smile, "No need to be polite. This old man dislikes empty formalities the most. Just do as you please." However, after a moment, Xiao Hua still asked curiously, "Who usually opens the gate in the middle?" Ao Qian smiled and said, "Naturally, it's opened by seniors who have already reached the highest realm in the 3 continents. For example, the immortal emperor of the Immortal Palace, the 3 Buddhist lords of the Thunder Temple, the 7 great sages of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, and the various elders of the Dragon Island. Oh, of course, other than the realm, when respected seniors come, it will also be opened. For example, Dragon Teacher Xiao." Hee, there's no need to mention this old man." Xiao Hua smiled and waved his hand. "This old man only has an empty title. How can the Dragon Teacher of my Dragon Clan be an empty title?" Ao Qian raised his hand and asked Xiao Hua to leave first. He followed behind Xiao Hua and replied with narrowed eyes, "If Dragon Teacher Xiao hadn't done a great favor to my Dragon Clan in the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm, how could the various elders of the Dragon Island bestow the title of Dragon Teacher to Senior? Perhaps Senior isn't of my Dragon Clan and doesn't know the origin of the title of Dragon Teacher. The so-called Dragon Teacher is the master of all of my Dragon Clan. No matter where Senior goes, my Dragon Clan has to treat Senior as a master and disciple. We must listen to Senior's words and can't refute them." Ao Qian had the intention to flatter. He carefully accompanied Xiao Hua along the way and led Xiao Hua to the previous main hall. At this time, the main hall had already been cleaned up and there was no trace of blood. As Xiao Hua walked into the main hall, he immediately saw the golden throne at the head of the hall. That enormous throne was carved with countless strange patterns, and a familiar desolate aura was emitted from those patterns, directly filling the entire main hall. If Xiao Hua hadn't fallen into the heavenly prison and saw this desolate relic, he would definitely sigh and be envious. He might even covet it in his heart. But at this time, after plundering the mysterious desolate continent for 100 years, Xiao Hua's space was already filled with treasures. This golden seat was no longer in his eyes. However, the patterns on the golden seat clearly had hidden dragon patterns. It was unknown how many times the dragon kings of the past had blessed it with the heavenly dragon language technique. This was the fundamental reason why Xiao Hua was moved. Ao Qian saw Xiao Hua's narrowed eyes and secretly despised him in his heart. He raised his hand and invited Xiao Hua to sit in the guest seat below the high platform. He accompanied Xiao Hua on the opposite main seat and said with a smile, "Dragon Teacher Xiao, my royal father isn't here. This junior will host a banquet on behalf of royal father to entertain senior. If there's anything wrong, Please forgive me. Thank you, fourth prince. Xueqi knew that the dragon race was similar to the human race in some aspects of etiquette. Without a banquet, they couldn't talk, so he nodded slightly. Not long after, the dragon palace servants placed the banquet. The golden table in front of Xueqi was already covered with many delicacies. Although Xueqi was already a Mahayana cultivator, there were many things in front of him that he hadn't seen before. In the end, 2 graceful shell girls danced with their shells. Their bodies were faintly visible in the transparent shells, looking particularly alluring. The shell girls leisurely came from outside the main hall. They swam through the seawater in the main hall, emitting a warm fragrance that seeped into one's heart. When they swam in front of Xueqi, they lowered their heads slightly and took out a strange flower with their mouth. This strange flower only had 3 petals, and these 3 petals were almost transparent. Hidden in the transparent flower were dozens of patterns of different colors. These patterns were also strange, and each one was like an undetectable flood dragon. The strange flower swayed slightly in the mouth of the shell girl, and the dozens of flood dragons reflected the light of the overflowing seawater. It was as if dozens of flood dragons were flying around the shell girl. A strange look appeared in Xueqi's eyes. He didn't know what the banquet would do with these flowers. However, looking at Ao Qian across from him, there was also a shell girl presenting flowers. Moreover, Ao Qian was looking at the dragon shadow in front of him with interest. Xueqi felt relieved. Chapter 4299. Xueqi looked at Ao Qian, then looked at the wine bottle in front of him and said with a bitter smile, "Fourth prince, this old man doesn't usually like to drink, and this wine bottle seems to be used by the dragon race. If this old man drinks it, won't he be drunk in the main hall? Haha, this is Junior's negligence." Ao Qian was a bit embarrassed and hurriedly scolded, "Useless servant, why aren't you changing it for Dragon Master?" Yes. A conch girl hurriedly walked out from behind the pillar, holding a jade plate in her hand. Inside the jade plate were a few crystal cups the size of a fist. These cups were also transparent, and there were some different colored spots inside. These spots were shining brightly, and they were still the bright stars in the night. The conch girl carefully placed the crystal cup in front of Xueqi, then respectfully picked up the wine bottle and poured it for Xueqi. Only then did she withdraw and stand behind the pillar. "Dragon Master Xiao, please." Ao Qian stood up, raised the wine bottle, and said respectfully, "All right." Xueqi helplessly raised his cup. After all, this was the etiquette of the South Sea Dragon Palace. He didn't like to drink, but drinking a few cups was right. Seeing Xueqi raise his cup, Ao Qian's eyes smiled. He raised the wine bottle first and said, "Junior will drink first." Dragons were several times better at drinking than cows. Xueqi had seen Ao Jing's straightforwardness on the dragon boat a few years ago. At this time, Ao Qian was not inferior to Ao Jing at all. The huge wine bottle was swallowed in a few mouthfuls, and there was no change in expression on his face. Xueqi also faintly smiled, raised his cup, and drank the bewitching wine. The wine entered his mouth, and his nose smelled the fragrance of the deity-parting flower. Xueqi's eyes slightly shook, and he actually had a kind of illusion where many shell girls fell from the sky. At this time, Ao Qian's somewhat blurred voice came again. "Dragon Master Xiao, this is my South Sea Dragon Palace's special Xueqi wine. It has a different flavor, and it has always been brought by father for the seniors to enjoy. Today, Junior borrowed senior's arrival and also basked in some glory." Ao Qian's voice was actually a bit ethereal. Xueqi saw that the shell girls in the illusion were beginning to have some unbearable actions, so he hurriedly used a secret technique. When the illusion in front of him disappeared, a kind of indescribable sobriety and a feeling of his bloodline gushing out from his body. Xueqi's bloodline power, which hadn't improved for a long time, actually had a very small improvement. This is good stuff. Xueqi looked at the bewitching wine on the golden table with some astonishment. He firmly believed Ao Qian's words. When Xueqi raised his head to look at Ao Qian, he saw that Ao Qian was actually slumped behind the golden table. His eyes were somewhat dazed as he stared at the clear seawater. There was even saliva dripping from the corner of his mouth. It was as if he had entered the illusion that Xueqi had seen before. Hee, this little guy seems to be gluttonous too. Xueqi smiled and thought to himself, "It's clearly a good thing that the South Sea Dragon King brought to entertain his distinguished guests, yet he actually wanted to steal it. This can be considered a lesson. As he spoke, Xueqi raised his hand again, picked up another cup of bewitching wine, and drank it in one gulp. Xueqi didn't like to drink, but if there was good wine that could stimulate the power of his bloodline, how could he let it go? When Xueqi was drinking by himself, Ao Qian was dumbfounded. Although the deity parting flower and bewitching wine were aimed at the dragon race, they also had some effect on human cultivators, especially on the physical body. The human race had no way to compare with the dragon race. Ao Qian was originally waiting for Xueqi to collapse on the golden table before taking action. But seeing Xueqi drinking cup after cup as if nothing had happened, he was truly puzzled. He couldn't help but secretly criticize in his heart, "Damn it, is this still a human? Even if he's a dragon, I'm afraid he would be lying down right now, right? Could it be that this Xueqi's cultivation has already reached the peak of the 9th level of essence energy?" Thinking of this, Ao Qian couldn't help but think of another possibility. Of course, it was only an instant before this thought flashed through Ao Qian's mind. After all, when Xueqi showed off his might in the stacked Jade Legacy realm, he was only around the 6th or 7th level of essence energy. On the Turning Dragon platform, he was even besieged by the dragon race of the Four Seas. Ao Qian didn't believe that a human cultivator could cultivate to the 9th level of essence energy in a short 200 years. In fact, even if Xueqi revealed his strength around the 8th level of essence energy, Ao Qian was still a little surprised. However, at this time, Ao Qian's heart was filled with thoughts of how to frame Xueqi. The higher Xueqi's strength was, the more advantageous it was for Ao Qian. It would be easier for him to explain the grievous news of the 3 princes being killed to the South Sea Dragon King. Therefore, Ao Qian didn't have time to think about anything else. Of course, Ao Qian was also extremely glad that he didn't immediately make trouble after Xueqi drank the bewitching wine. Instead, he chose to observe. Otherwise, his entire plan would be disrupted. After Xueqi finished drinking the several crystal cups on the golden table, the conch girl beside him hurriedly walked out, wanting to refill Xueqi's cup. Xueqi waved his hand and smiled. "No need." "Yes." The conch girl didn't dare to say anything more, hurriedly lowering her head and retreating. However, anything with spiritual effects would always have a limited effect. After Xueqi drank a few cups, the effect of the bewitching wine's bloodline power was almost negligible. Xueqi was disdainful of merely tasting spiritual wine. His gaze landed on the deity parting flower. Seeing Xueqi looking at the deity parting flower, Ao Qian no longer dared to pretend to be drunk. He slightly opened his eyes and looked at Xueqi with astonishment. Dragon Master Xiao Yu. Seeing Ao Qian wake up, Xueqi shifted his gaze from the deity parting flower to Ao Qian and smiled. "Many thanks, 4th Prince. This wine is very good. It will be very helpful for this old man's cultivation." Damn it! Ao Qian was sweating profusely. He almost jumped up. The bewitching wine and deity parting flower that could make an 8th-grade elemental power dragon faint, in the mouth of Xueqi, a human, only had 2 words to describe it as very good. Moreover, it was very helpful for this person's cultivation. Ao Qian felt like he was about to collapse. He was a bit regretful of his own calculations. Because the development of the matter had just started, he felt like it was about to break out of his control. If Dragon Master Xiao likes it, Junior will prepare. At this point, Ao Qian awkwardly stopped and said in a low voice, "Junior secretly used Royal Father's wine. I'm afraid I can't give Senior more to take away. Also, I ask Senior to keep this a secret for this Junior." "Haha, don't worry." Xueqi laughed. "This old man has received benefits. Why would I expose your shortcomings for no reason?" Very good, very good." While Ao Qian smiled, he began to regret his previous actions. Without Xueqi as a scapegoat, he really couldn't explain to the Southern Sea Dragon King. He had to find another reason. At this time, Xueqi opened his mouth. "4th Prince, this old man came to the Southern Sea Dragon Palace today to discuss 2 matters." "Oh, Senior, please speak." Ao Qian was obviously a bit absent-minded and asked casually. Xueqi looked at Ao Qian's flickering eyes and felt a bit bitter in his heart. He knew that this time, he came for nothing. The Southern Sea Dragon King wasn't here. Not to mention the metal, wood, and magnetism. Even the matter of borrowing the teleportation channel, this 4th Prince probably couldn't make the decision, right? Thinking of this, Xueqi looked around in bewilderment and asked, Fourth prince, where did the Southern Sea Dragon Palace's crown prince and the others go? Ao Qian quivered and hurriedly collected his thoughts. He smiled apologetically and said, "My royal brothers have some matters that are not within the Dragon Palace. As for Senior's matter, I'm afraid this junior can't make the decision." Seeing that Ao Qian's attitude was different from when they first met, Xiao Hua sneered in his heart. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have drunk this so-called spiritual wine. Now that he had gained the other party's face, he was embarrassed to fall out with him. Forcefully using the teleportation channel might be a bit troublesome. Thus Xiao Hua said indifferently, "What? Could it be that the fourth prince won't even let this old man say what he wants to say?" I wouldn't dare. Ao Qian hurriedly replied. This junior was really happy to see Senior earlier, so my blood surged and I agreed without thinking. But now that this junior thinks about it... Oh, Senior, do you have something to say? Tell me first. If possible, this junior will take the risk and agree. And this old man thanks the fourth prince first. Although Xiao Hua was dissatisfied with Ao Qian's attitude, he had always been amenable to persuasion and not coercion. He nodded slightly and said, "This old man wants to use the South Sea Dragon Palace's teleportation channel to go to the North Sea Dragon Palace. I don't know if the fourth prince can make the decision." Ao Qian shook his head slightly. This teleportation channel is a secret of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. Ordinary sea race and human race don't know about it. Since Dragon Master Xiao knows about this and came to my South Sea Dragon Palace, this junior wants to help Senior and is willing to help Senior. However, the token to activate the teleportation channel is in the hands of my royal father. This junior doesn't have it, so this junior can't help Senior. Senior, please forgive me. Xiao Hua naturally didn't need any token to activate the teleportation channel. However, facing Ao Qian's attitude as a junior, Xiao Hua really couldn't fall out with him and make things difficult for this respectful junior. Forget it. Xiao Hua stood up and flicked his sleeves. He stood up and said, "This old man will take his leave for now. When your Dragon King returns in a few days, this old man will come again to visit." Senior, don't be anxious. Ao Qian really couldn't bear to let Xiao Hua, the scapegoat, leave so easily. He hurriedly stood up and said, "Senior, please have some food and wine first. Tell me about the other matter. Perhaps this junior can make the decision then?" While speaking, Ao Qian raised his head and looked outside the main hall. His gaze changed. The dragon generals outside the main hall were already on guard after receiving Ao Qian's signal. They should be Ao Qian's backup plan from before. Xiao Hua didn't care about these dragon generals. He looked at Ao Qian and said with a smile that wasn't a smile, "This old man heard that your South Sea Dragon Palace has a metal and wood magnetism? Is there such a thing?" Metal and wood magnetism? Ao Qian stared blankly. Suddenly, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He hurriedly said, "Senior, please take a seat." So Senior came for that thing. What? Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and said curiously, "Even the fourth prince can't make the decision on the teleportation channel. Can this metal and wood magnetism make the decision?" Chapter 4300. No, Dragon Master Xiao has misunderstood. Ao Qian's reaction was extremely fast. His thoughts turned quickly, and he smiled apologetically. This junior can't decide on the matter of metal and wood magnetism. However, this junior knows that this item is quite a headache for my royal father. If Senior has the means to take it away, I'm sure my royal father will be happy. This junior is naturally willing to help you with such a mutually beneficial matter. Xiao Hua stopped and sat down. He asked with interest, "What do you mean?" Ao Qian smiled. Senior is a Taoist cultivator. At this point, Ao Qian suddenly stared blankly for a moment, and he glanced at Xiao Hua with a strange expression. Only now did Ao Qian realize that Xiao Hua was a Tao sect cultivator, and being able to cultivate to the 6th or 7th grade of origin energy in the 3 continents was already extremely rare. How could there be a cultivator like Xiao Hua who had cultivated to the 8th grade of origin energy? However, Ao Qian was only surprised for a moment. He threw this thought aside and explained, "Senior must know that the physiques of the human race belong to the 5 elements. Although my dragon race doesn't cultivate the 5 elements, my physique and dragon arts are mixed with the 5 elements. Among the dragon palaces of the 4 seas, the Eastern Sea Dragon Palace's nature is metal, the Western Sea Dragon Palace's nature is fire, the Northern Sea Dragon Palace's nature is wood, and my Southern Sea Dragon Palace's nature is earth. Within the 4 seas, according to the different attributes of the dragon palaces, there are many natural spiritual items of the 5 elements. The metal and wood magnetism shouldn't be within the jurisdiction of my Southern Sea Dragon Palace. However, this magnetism is not far from my Southern Sea Dragon Palace. This item interferes with the cultivation of my Southern Sea Dragon Palace's dragon race. My royal father wanted to ask the Eastern Sea Dragon Palace and the Northern Sea Dragon Palace for help several times to take away this metal and wood magnetism. However, I'm sure Senior also understands that within the magnetism, the items of the 5 elements must be restricted. My 3 uncles and my royal father tried to do everything they could to no avail. Later on, they simply used some secret techniques of the dragon race to simply cover up this magnetism and ignored it. At this point, Ao Qian was somewhat excited. He stood up and said, "Senior, please wait a moment. Junior will send a message to my royal father. If possible, Senior can use the transportation channel." "Great." Xiao Hua clapped and said, "Then I'll have to trouble 4th Prince." "It's not troublesome at all," Ao Qian said respectfully. "It's my honor to be able to do something for Xiao Longshi." With that said, Ao Qian walked to the door of the main hall. He did not leave the main hall. He took out a long bay and handed it to the dragon general on duty at the door. "Go quickly. Send this message to the Dragon King. If he has any orders, report to this king immediately." "Yes, 4th Prince." The dragon general took the dragon shell and hurriedly left, not daring to be negligent. Xiao Hua looked at Ao Qian's back and used his heavenly eye divine ability. He didn't hear any message from Ao Qian, so he didn't suspect anything. Then, Ao Qian turned back and accompanied Xiao Hua to talk and eat some delicacies. After 2 hours, a dragon general hurriedly returned the long bay to Ao Qian. He reported, "The Dragon King's order has arrived. 4th Marquis, please verify it." "Yes." Ao Qian took the long bay and looked at it. He nodded with satisfaction and said, "You can leave now. Arrange the carriage." "Yes, this subordinate understands." The dragon general hurriedly left after receiving the order. Ao Qian turned around and bowed with a smile on his face. "Congratulations, Xiao Longshi. Father is very happy to receive this junior's message. However, the matter at the East Sea Dragon Palace is not over yet. Therefore, he asked this junior to accompany Senior and wait for his return. Of course, if Senior can settle this matter in advance, this junior can also gain the favor of my father. Oh, Senior, please rest assured. The matter of using the transmission channel is not a problem at all." He good. Xiao Hua knew Ao Qian's mood. In fact, he was even more excited. He was more eager to obtain the metal and wood elemental magnetism than Ao Qian. After all, this was the last elemental magnetism to refine the 5 elements wishful heaven cudgel. "Thank you, Senior." "Thank you." Ao Qian hurriedly bowed. He looked at the delicacies on the golden table and smiled. "If possible, can Senior go now? After this junior succeeds, this junior will organize a banquet to celebrate Senior's success?" "Of course." Xiao Hua nodded with a smile. "Please." Ao Qian was very excited. He raised his hand and invited Xiao Hua to go first. Xiao Hua walked out from behind the golden table and arrived outside the palace gate. He saw a huge whale dragging something that looked like a dragon boat had stopped at the bottom of the steps. "Senior, please." Ao Qian was still very respectful. He invited Xiao Hua to board the chariot first. Xiao Hua was not polite. He floated up and landed on the chariot. However, the chariot was so big that Xiao Hua felt small standing on it. Ao Qian boarded the chariot and said very considerately with a smile, "Senior, I've wronged you. This boat doesn't have a seat that humans usually use." No matter, no matter." Xiao Hua was also in a very good mood. He waved his hand and said indifferently. Then, the giant whale dragged the chariot into the depths of the dragon palace. At the same time, dozens of armored dragon generals surrounded the chariot to protect it. Xiao Hua had not released his divine sense before. Furthermore, the dragon formation of the South Sea Dragon Palace had sealed off a portion of his divine sense. So Xiao Hua only knew that the South Sea Dragon Palace was huge. As for how huge it was, He had no idea. But after the giant whale had been swimming for over 2 hours, there were still many palaces under the chariot. Xueqi was completely speechless. He sighed and said, "Fourth prince, people often say that the richest place in the world is not the immortal palace, but the dragon palaces of the 4 seas. It seems that it really is true. Although I haven't seen anything particularly precious, looking at such a huge palace, I'm afraid there isn't anything bigger in this world, right?" The East Sea Dragon Palace. Ao Qian replied without the slightest hesitation. Senior must have never been to the East Sea Dragon Palace. Otherwise you wouldn't say that. Xueqi was a bit embarrassed. He looked at Ao Qian's spirited face and replied, "Indeed, other than Dragon Island, this is the first time I've been to the dragon race's territory. Dragon Island is the holy land of my dragon race. My dragon palace of the 4 seas naturally cannot compare. Furthermore, Dragon Island is not as luxurious as my dragon palace of the 4 seas. Ao Qian said with a smile. Just as he said that, a colorful halo appeared in the seawater 1,000 kilometers in front of him. This halo was like a spinning wheel of light, sprinkling layers of colors on the seawater, the reefs, and the fishes swimming in the seawater. The deep-sea fishes were originally colorful. Now that they were reflected in this halo, and were frightened by the whale and the dragon generals, they swam frantically. It was as if a huge colorful whirlwind was blowing at the bottom of the sea. It was exceptionally beautiful. Senior, the place where the halo is located is the metal and wood elemental magnetism. There is a dragon formation confinement on it. The successive dragon kings of my South Sea Dragon Palace would use the heavenly dragon language technique to strengthen the dragon formation. Ao Qian raised his hand and pointed at the halo in the distance and explained. When Royal Father sent back the order, he already said that this junior should take the token of the Dragon Palace so that senior can enter the dragon formation. This junior has already ordered my subordinates to prepare. As he spoke, Ao Qian spat out a mouthful of dragon breath at a part of the carriage. Several dragon patterns appeared on it, and then a dragon-shaped token that was more than 10 feet in size flew out from the dragon patterns. Ao Qian looked at such a large token and raised his hand. The token flew in front of Xueqi and smiled. "Thank you for your trouble, senior." Seeing Ao Qian cover his mouth and laugh, Xueqi also laughed. His instinctive wariness lessened a bit. He raised his hand and grabbed, causing the space near the token to suddenly distort. That space, along with the token, shrank and landed in Xueqi's hand. He said, "Isn't this enough?" "Senior." Ao Qian was shocked. How could a cultivator on the verge of the 8th grade of Essence Force achieve this level of spatial control? Only now did Ao Qian suddenly realize that Xueqi's strength was unfathomable. What he saw before was only the tip of the iceberg. However, since it had already come to this, how could Ao Qian retreat? A lie needed 100 lies to make up for it. Today, Ao Qian had told more than one lie. Other than making Xueqi the scapegoat, he really had no other way out. Ao Qian clenched his teeth and praised. Senior's cultivation is really powerful. Junior remembers that in the Stacked Jade Legacy realm, Senior was only around the 6th grade of Essence Force, right? Everyone will improve. This old man may have had more opportunities than others. Xueqi smiled and waved his hand. However, compared to the Great Tao, these are insignificant. Senior's teachings are right. Ao Qian had made up his mind. His face quickly returned to normal, and he said respectfully, "This junior may not have Senior's perseverance. It's difficult for me to cultivate a great ability. The dragon race is different from the human race. Their paths are different. Fourth Prince doesn't need to envy this old man." Xueqi said casually as he looked at the halo approaching. He placed his attention in the distance and didn't notice the faint smile on Ao Qian's face. The place where the halo rose from still looked like a palace, but this palace was very different from the others. Looking from a distance, the palace was divided into 7 different parts, each part forming a tower of different height. These 7 tower-shaped palaces were connected by some dragon-like corridors. Not only were these long corridors piled up with glittering corals and other objects, but they were also inlaid with strange shellfish and dragon scales. These different decorations were connected by thin dragon patterns. Between the light and the ripples, it was as if a giant dragon was cruising. The 7 tower-shaped palaces were sparkling and translucent, emitting 7 different colors. These lights not only rushed to the water area where the palaces were located, but also flickered in the corridors between them. It looked gorgeous and colorful. It's really beautiful. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes and praised. That praise came from the bottom of his heart. Damn it, everyone says that there are countless treasures in the Dragon Palace. But from this palace in a corner of the Dragon Palace, how many crystal stones did it cost? Since the North Sea Dragon Palace has an auction and arena, the South Sea Dragon Palace should also have one. Their sea crystals are really endless. Chapter 4301. Hehe, Senior, don't underestimate this place. Although it looks beautiful, it's extremely dangerous. Ao Chen said with a smile. Normally, we won't come close to this place. I hope that after this old man leaves, the fourth prince will often come here to enjoy this beautiful scenery. Xiaohua said with a smile. At this moment, the giant whale had stopped. Its body, which was larger than a mountain range, trembled a few times. An undercurrent emerged from the bottom of the sea and rushed to the Dragon Palace. Senior, Ao Chen said respectfully. This place is already very close to the Seven Stars Palace. This junior can't get any closer. Senior only needs to hold the token and get close to the Seven Stars Palace. This junior can only wait here. When my father returns from the East Sea Dragon Palace, our South Sea Dragon Palace will celebrate Senior's achievement. Hehe, no need to be so polite. Xiaohua said with a smile. It's just a small matter. Senior's small matter solved a problem for our South Sea Dragon Palace for who knows how many years. This junior thanks Senior on behalf of my father. Ao Chen was very polite today. He coaxed Xiaohua to rush to the Seven Stars Palace. Xiaohua knew what Ao Chen was thinking. Ao Chen wanted him to deal with this troublesome matter before the Dragon King of the South Sea returned, so that he could show off his achievements in front of the Dragon King of the South Sea. In fact, he was also anxious to get the metal and wood elements in his hands. One man and one dragon hit it off. Therefore, Xiaohua's figure flashed and arrived in front of one of the tower-shaped halls in the Seven Stars Palace. Buzz! A beam of light shot out from the hall and covered Xiaohua. Then, a huge whirlpool appeared in the sea and dragged Xiaohua in. Oh! Xiaohua's figure just moved. He seemed to have discovered something. His body emitted a bronze brilliance and blocked the suction force. He looked at the other 6 palaces again. When Ao Chen saw Xiaohua fly out, he was so happy that his heart almost jumped out of his chest. One of his dragon claws was already on Long Bay. When he saw Xiaohua suddenly stop, his heart instantly froze and stopped at his throat. He thought that Xiaohua had discovered something unusual and was very nervous. Fortunately, Xiaohua only stayed in the sea for a short while. He withdrew his magic power and followed the whirlpool into the Seven Stars Palace. When the whirlpool gradually shrank, it turned into fine lines on the surface of a shell. Beth, Beth. When the 7 palaces of the Seven Stars Hall emitted a rumbling sound at the same time, Ao Chen narrowed his eyes and slapped the dragon shell with one of his dragon claws. The dragon-slaying saber from before flew out again. It flashed through the air and landed on one of Ao Chen's dragon claws and abdomen. Swoosh! Half of the dragon claws were sliced off, and a gash that was dozens of feet long appeared on his abdomen. Dragon blood gushed out like a fountain. Quick, quick! Quickly send a message to Royal Father. Ao Chen shouted in pain. The Dao Sex Xiaohua came to visit my South Sea Dragon Palace. The first Crown Prince, second Crown Prince, third Crown Prince, and this king received him as a Dragon Master and brought Dragon Master Xiao to tour the South Sea Dragon Palace. However, Xiaohua harbored evil intentions. When he came to the Seven Stars Palace, he suddenly attacked and heavily injured this king. He even snatched the Trial Taker's token from this king's hands. He used the token to sneak into the Seven Stars Palace. The first Crown Prince, second Crown Prince, and third Crown Prince furiously chased him into the Seven Stars Palace. Yes, this subordinate understands. When the dragon general beside the huge whale heard the order, he raised his dragon claws and took out a dragon tool that looked like a wooden fish. Under the urging of Dragon Qi, the entire Dragon Qi emitted an earthy yellow light. The dragon general said a few words to the dragon tool. The dragon tool flickered slightly as if it was breathing. A moment later, a surprised voice came from the dragon tool. Yes, fourth prince. This subordinate will immediately use the Four Seas message to inform His Majesty the Dragon King. This king is in so much pain. Ao Poo, Why aren't you hurriedly sending out the alarm and putting the entire Dragon Palace on emergency alert? Have the South Sea Great General lead 100,000 members of the oceanic race to surround the Seven Stars Palace? Also ask the 4 old consecrators to come to the Seven Stars Palace. This king is afraid that the 3 princes are not Xiaohua's opponents and will encounter trouble inside. Ao Qian screamed heartbreakingly at the flickering dragon tool. Fourth prince, fourth prince. The dragon general called Ao Pu hurried forward and called out. You should take the medicine for your injuries first. Now that things have come to this, there is no need to be too anxious. The 3 princes are all experts of the upper 7th level and the edge of the 8th level. That dragon master Xiao is merely a human. He won't. Nonsense. Not waiting for Ao Pu to finish, Ao Qian said angrily. You are not saying this because your blood is in danger. The 3 princes are this king's blood brothers. How can this king be at ease with them taking risks inside? That Xiaohua's strength seems to have advanced by leaps and bounds. In a hurry. This king was heavily injured by him. If I cannot see my 3 brothers come out of the Seven Stars Palace safely, how can this king be at ease to heal my injuries? Ao Pu was so moved that even tears fell down. He kowtowed and said, Fourth prince, this subordinate knows that the prince has always placed filial piety and familial love in the first place. But, even if the prince does not heal his injuries now, it will be of no help. The eldest prince has entered the Seven Stars Palace. Only his crown prince token can mobilize the Southern Sea Great General. As for the 4 old consecrators, only His Majesty the Dragon King can move them. Alas, alas, what should I do? I can't just watch my 3 brothers. Ao Qian said anxiously. At this point, a mouthful of dragon blood spurted out from his mouth. A lot of blood gushed out from his abdomen. Ao Qian actually fainted. Fourth prince. Ao Pu was shocked and shouted, Dragon generals, quickly give the 4th prince medicine. You and the others should also be on guard. If the situation is urgent, we will quickly escort the 4th prince away. Who dares to take this king away? At this time, Ao Qian's weak voice came. This king must stay outside the Seven Stars Palace and live and die with my 3 brothers. Buzz buzz. At this time, the 7 tower-shaped palaces of the Seven Stars Palace let out a rapid rumbling sound. The entire sea of thousands of li actually trembled. Ao Qian's face showed surprise. His mouth was slightly open. However, a moment later, the corner of his mouth revealed a sinister smile. He cried out in alarm. Ao Pu, this, reporting to the 4th prince. Ao Pu was also extremely shocked. The 8th level trial of the Seven Stars Palace seems to have been activated. Damned Xiaohua, this bastard is truly deranged. Ao Qian couldn't help but shout. Big brother is only at the beginning of the 8th level of essence energy. This 8th level trial. Wouldn't it take his life? And 2nd brother and 3rd brother. 4th prince. On the other side of the dragon weapon, Ao Qian had long heard Ao Qian's words. He also hurriedly shouted, Are you sure this is the 8th level trial of the Seven Stars Palace? This king. Can't be sure. A cold light flashed in Ao Qian's eyes. He said in a low voice, After all, this king has only passed the 7th level trial. However, this king still knows a little about the phenomenon of the Seven Stars Palace. This might not be the 7th level trial. This subordinate understands. This subordinate will inform the Southern Sea General and ask him to make a decision. The dragon general on the other side of the dragon body was clearly experienced. He immediately determined the urgency of the matter from Ao Qian's words. He hurriedly replied and turned off the dragon weapon. Looking at the dimmed dragon weapon, Ao Qian's face clearly revealed a trace of relief. 4th prince. Ao Pu transmitted his voice in a low voice. How should we deal with this now? Back in Long Bay, the 4th prince didn't give any detailed instructions. Quick! Ao Qian hurriedly said. Order all the dragon generals and the sea race to surround the Seven Stars Palace. We can't let the thief Xiaohua escape easily. Also, Ao Pu, take this king's command arrow and mobilize all of this king's subordinates to the Seven Stars Palace to support. Yes, this subordinate understands. Ao Pu's face turned cold as he hurriedly replied. However, he still hesitated and reminded, 4th prince, your injuries. This king's injuries are nothing compared to the danger my 3 brothers are in. Ao Qian's face was still anxious as if he was deeply immersed in the act. When Ao Pu heard this, he immediately understood. The three princes were dead, so the fourth prince could only be injured as badly as possible. Ao Qian couldn't heal his injuries before the South Sea Dragon King returned. Fourth prince, take care. This subordinate will return and mobilize the troops. Ao Pu had already obtained Ao Qian's command token from Long Bei, so he didn't need to take it anymore. He responded, and his dragon body instantly disappeared in the sea. Ao Qian's subordinates had already gathered. They were only waiting for Ao Qian's command token to besiege the Seven Stars Palace. Xiao Hua held Ao Qian's command token in his hand and landed on the Seven Stars Palace. A huge whirlpool above the palace produced a suction force that was about to pull him in. Suddenly, Xiao Hua's gaze fell on the seven tower-shaped palaces of the palace, and a somewhat strange feeling arose. Therefore, he immediately activated his magic power and stopped his body in midair. He looked at the structure of the entire palace again. Previously, when he saw that the entire palace was composed of 7 palaces, Xiao Hua didn't feel anything strange because it was impossible to see the secret of the suppression of the metalwood elemental magnetic dragon formation from the layout alone. When Ao Qian called this palace the Seven Stars Palace, Xiao Hua's heart moved. The 7 stars in the eyes of Taoist cultivators were naturally the Big Dipper, and the layout of the 7 palaces in this palace was extremely similar to the Big Dipper. Xiao Hua didn't care. At this moment, Xiao Hua understood that the 7 palaces in the palace were built in the shape of the Big Dipper, but the positions of Migres, Mizar, and Alcade were very slightly different from the Big Dipper in Xiao Hua's memory. What's going on? Xiao Hua frowned and thought to himself, could it be that this 7 Stars Palace isn't a pure Big Dipper array? Of course, it was only a moment before Xiao Hua laughed involuntarily again because the Big Dipper array in his memory was a Taoist array. Now, what was under his feet wasn't a Taoist array, but a dragon array of the Dragon Clan. It should be understandable that there were some differences in the layout of the 7 Stars Palace. Therefore, Xiao Hua withdrew his magic power and protected his body. His figure fell into the palace along with the whirlpool. Chapter 4302. It was somewhat similar to the dragon formation he encountered on the Dragon Island. As Xiao Hua's figure descended, several huge dragon marks mixed with the brilliance of dragon scales appeared near Xiao Hua. After that, a powerful dragon might rushed out from the formation and attacked Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua was not worried at all. He only faintly smiled and rubbed his hands. Several crystal lights fell into the sky. A golden light transformed into a dragon image and protected Xiao Hua's body. When the dragon might fell into the dragon image, it instantly disappeared. The pressure of the entire space also disappeared. Swish! The country of 10,000 dragons flashed before his eyes. Countless dragon roars also swept past his ears. Xiao Hua's figure smoothly entered the 7 Stars Palace. Damn it! Xiao Hua's figure descended and looked all around. He unconsciously shouted in an exaggerated manner. Sure enough, it's the Southern Sea Dragon Palace. Just to suppress metal, wood, and magnetism, they spent so much effort. This 7 Stars Palace is comparable to the main hall of an ordinary sect in the Morning Rain continent. This space was at least 1,000 li in size. It was filled with serene blue seawater. This seawater was motionless like a solidified crystal. And above this space, 3 huge dragon images condensed into 3 huge dragon characters. 7 Stars Palace. There were no pillars or corridors in the entire space. Apart from the seawater and draconic runes, there were 7 different colored reefs above his head. These reefs were so huge that they were comparable to 7 islands. Each island was shaped like a turtle, a crab, a shrimp, a fish, and so on. Xiao Hua's divine sense was not under any control inside this space. When Xiao Hua's divine sense swept past these reefs, different auras flickered within them, sometimes strong, sometimes weak. However, Xiao Hua could clearly feel that these auras were completely the auras of dragons. There was no difference in essence. Immediately after, Xiao Hua swept his divine sense below his feet. However, he saw that the space below was completely serene blue. It was like an incomparably huge sea crystal. Even with Xiao Hua's divine sense, he was actually unable to see the end. Moreover, the brilliance emitted from the 7 reefs intertwined with each other at the place where Xiao Hua was at. Similarly, the brilliance also spread downwards. This spreading brilliance did not cause any abnormality. The magnetism that Xueqi was expecting also did not show any sign of appearing. This dragon formation is really powerful. Xueqi looked above his head and then below his feet. Other than the dragon's might, there was only the seawater. There was not a trace of origin magnetism leaking out at all. He could not help but feel impressed. But at the same time, he felt a little regretful. He had been too impatient. He should have waited for the Southern Sea Dragon King to return and asked him to open the dragon formation that was suppressing the metal-wood magnetism. He only needed to keep the metal-wood magnetism. Forget it, forget it. If I want to get some benefits, I have no choice but to use some tricks. Otherwise, when the old Dragon King of the Southern Sea comes back and haggles with this Xiao after he collects the metal and wood elemental magnetism, how could Xueqi not know what he was thinking in his heart? Wasn't it because he was afraid that the South Sea Dragon King would suddenly change his mind and turn around to deny his promise, causing him to be happy for nothing? That was why he hurriedly coaxed the fourth Prince Ao Qian to bring him to the Seven Stars Palace? At the same time that Xueqi broke the dragon formation, he also wanted to give the South Sea Dragon Palace a show of strength, so as to avoid any future troubles. As he thought about it, Xueqi activated the water escape technique and was about to escape downwards. Who would have thought that just as he moved, tens of thousands of whirlpools suddenly appeared in the seawater within a radius of 100 li. These whirlpools, without exception, all of them emitted different colored lights. At the same time, the 7 reefs above his head emitted hundreds of ripples that fell into these lights. As the whirlpools emitted whistling sounds, the green water in the entire space gradually turned into tens of thousands of flying swords along with the whirlpools. They danced around the entire space. Oh! Xueqi slightly frowned when he saw the flying water swords tearing the space apart. The sharpness of the water swords was much sharper than that of a flying sword tempered by ordinary materials. He was rather puzzled as to how an offensive method could appear within the dragon formation that suppressed the metal and wood elemental magnetism. However, this level of flying sword formation still wouldn't fall into Xueqi's eyes. Xueqi made a gesture in his hand, and layers of flower-like flames flew out with Xueqi as the center. These flowers were only one layer at first, but when they came into contact with the flying swords condensed from seawater, shwa. At the same time, a slightly smaller flame flew out from the blooming and pounced on another flying sword. The previously blooming flame quickly engulfed the flying sword that came into contact with it, emitting a low rumbling sound. Just like this, in just a moment, the water swords within hundreds of li were easily destroyed by Xueqi. The instant the last water sword was swallowed by the flame, the spot where the whirlpool was formed, where the various colored lights were formed, suddenly began to vibrate at an even faster pace. Tens of thousands of ripples began to unbridledly ripple within the space. At the same time, the 7 reefs emitted a bright brilliance, projecting light beams of several li in size into these fluctuations. Boom! There was another chaotic rumbling sound. Tens of thousands of brilliance turned into light balls the size of baskets and began to teleport within the space of hundreds of li, and the seawater in the space began to thin. Boom, boom, boom. Xueqi frowned slightly. He didn't hurry to dodge. He urged his transcendence energy, and lightning surged around his body. Several balls of light collided with his protective lightning with lightning speed. The balls of light exploded, and an extremely loud explosion rang out. Moreover, the lightning on the surface of Xueqi's body was also torn apart by the explosion. It's a little strange. Xueqi tried the power of this light ball. He raised his hand, and his spiritual power shackled the water light of dozens of meters. Sure enough, several orange-colored balls of light were revealed from the watery light. Xueqi reached out again and grabbed one of the light balls. The light ball spun in Xueqi's palm, and at the core of the light ball, a tiny dragon mark was faintly discernible. Puff! Xueqi spat out a mouthful of true qi. Boom! That light ball exploded with a loud bang. However, under the confinement of Xueqi's spiritual power, the light ball couldn't destroy anything. This kind of power, is it an attack? Or a defense? Xueqi was really puzzled. However, when he scanned with his divine sense, he saw so many light balls flying towards him. His scalp went numb. Humph! Xueqi coldly snorted. He scanned with his divine sense again, and the space within hundreds of li was confined. Then, he gently raised his hand and pointed at the crystal-like seawater that was confined. Crack, crack, crack. There was a burst of chaotic sounds, and countless lightning bolts shot out from this point. In an instant, all the light balls within hundreds of li were destroyed. Then, Xueqi withdrew his domain, and his figure turned into lightning bolts, and he escaped into the depths of the space. Boom, boom, boom. There were 7 consecutive loud rumbles. The sound of space was heard, and the 7 reef-like things exploded one after another. The entire space was shaking violently. At the same time, the boundless seawater in the entire space was also exploding. In the blink of an eye, it turned into 7 layers of blue light, and fell into the 7 reef-like things. At this time, the 7 exploded reef-like things emitted an incomparably dazzling brilliance, as if there were 7 suns in the sky. Ha! Xueqi's figure escaped for more than 1,000 li suddenly. A layer of extremely strange restriction appeared below him, and it blocked his figure. Xueqi didn't have time to use his divine sense to investigate this restriction. Buzz, buzz. There was a buzzing sound above his head. When Xueqi raised his head, he saw that the space under the illumination of the 7 suns was already covered in layers of dragon patterns. These dragon patterns emitted a desolate aura that Xueqi was familiar with, and they covered the entire space. As these dragon tattoos spread out, the entire space changed under the light. Numerous towering mountains, towering peaks, and towering ancient trees appeared in the space. Roar, roar. After the desolate aura appeared, huge dragons with ancient dragon might flew out from the 7 suns' light and rushed towards Xueqi. Xueqi was stunned at first, but when his divine sense swept over, he found that these dragons were just light and shadows. They only had dragon might, but they didn't have dragon bodies. His heart was at ease. Roar. Xueqi roared and displayed his transcendence golden body. In this space, it transformed into thousands of feet in size. Then, without using any wishful staff, Xueqi waved his fist. As soon as his fist fell, cracks appeared in the space. As soon as the dragon's light and shadow touched the fist, its brilliance immediately dimmed. When the fist fell, it smashed the dragon's might, leaving only wisps of ancient dragon patterns floating in the air. After a while, they disappeared again. While Xueqi was testing his skills in the 7 Stars Hall, Ao Qian, who was outside the hall, felt like a year had passed. Everything happened step by step according to his arrangements. Even Xueqi's strength had unexpectedly reached the height that he had arranged. He should have proudly raised his dragon tail in the air. However, when he saw the brilliance emitted from the 7 halls of the 7 Stars Hall, and this brilliance fell into the surrounding sea, endless water elemental energy of heaven and earth madly fell into the 7 Stars Hall. His heart tightened again. Damn, this Xueqi. What kind of monster is he? It's only been 200 years, but he has cultivated to such a level. This strength is more than enough to kill the 3 princes, but if this guy's strength is a little higher, the current array of the 7 Stars Hall may not be able to trap him. If he discovered something strange, wouldn't he have to escape from there? If he escapes, it's fine. If he doesn't leave, he will find this king for an explanation, or even capture this king. What should I do? Why hasn't father come back yet? Where's the South Sea General? Why hasn't he come back yet? Just when Ao Qian felt that he was about to become an ant on a hot pan, an old voice sounded, "Fourth Prince, what's going on?" Chapter 4303. Great General. Ao Qian heard the voice and let out a long sigh of relief. He turned his head and shouted, "You're finally here." Behind Ao Qian, tens of thousands of streaks of light shot out from different splashes of water. When they got close to Ao Qian, all of the streaks of light rapidly gathered. In just a few breaths of time, a massive golden dragon appeared from the streaks of light. Where's the Crown Prince? The figure of the Southern Sea Great General had already appeared. His flashing golden eyes immediately looked at Ao Qian, as if he wanted to see through Ao Qian's heart. Ao Qian's heart jumped, but the expression on his face didn't change. He knew in his heart that although the Southern Sea Great General wasn't loyal to the Crown Prince, he was responsible for the safety of the entire Southern Sea after the departure of the Southern Sea Dragon King. Protecting the Crown Prince was his primary responsibility. Now that the Crown Prince was in danger, if he said anything wrong, he might be killed. Therefore, Ao Qian took a deep breath and told the lie that he had been planning for a long time. Ao Qian's words didn't have any big flaws. After all, Xiao Hua had caused a great commotion when he broke into the outer array of the Southern Sea Dragon Palace. Although the Southern Sea Great General wasn't in the array, he had already received a report from the Sea General. He originally wanted to chase after Xiao Hua, but after all, he wasn't close to the Dragon Palace. Moreover, Xiao Hua was welcomed into the Dragon Palace by the fourth Crown Prince, so he didn't pay much attention. However, he didn't understand why Xiao Hua, who was a Dragon Master, would suddenly come to the Seven Stars Hall when he was touring the Dragon Palace in the sea carriage of the Crown Prince. He also didn't know why the three Crown Princes would disregard their own safety and chase Xiao Hua into the Seven Stars Hall. Seeing that the level 8 trial array of the Seven Stars Hall had been activated and the entire hall was emitting a strong fluctuation, the Southern Sea Great General couldn't help but be dumbfounded. He couldn't help but ask, Fourth Crown Prince, even if Xiao Longshire has the strength of an 8th level origin energy like what Fourth Crown Prince said, it's still impossible for him to withstand the level 8 refinement array in the Seven Stars Hall. Ao Qian's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at the 7 palaces and the flame-like lights in the long corridors between the palaces. He said indifferently, now is not the time to discuss Xiao Hua's strength, it is the time to discuss the life and death of this king's 3 elder brothers. Wait for this general to score a goal. The Southern Sea General gritted his teeth and shouted, if the Crown Prince is still here, this general will risk my life to rescue him. Great General. Ao Qian turned to look at the Great General of the South Sea. His dragon eyes were already bloodshot. He enunciated each word clearly. It's not just you. I also want to go in and save my 3 brothers. However, the level 8 trial array of the 7 Stars Palace had already been activated for half a cup of tea's time. The entire 7 Stars Palace was enveloped by the array. This king does not know what the 8th level trial is, but this king knows that under the 7th level trial, this king was nearly killed by dozens of dragon forms. Now that I'm already level 8, my 3 brothers, not only are they being attacked by the trial array, there's also Xiao Hua, whose strength has already reached the upper 8th grade of elemental energy. Can they survive? Fourth Crown Prince. The Southern Sea General coldly said, not only are you trying to delay this general from entering the 7 Stars Palace to save the Crown Prince, you're also saying that the Crown Prince has already lost his life. What are you thinking? Ao Qian stared at the Southern Sea General. His eyes were also cold. However, after a moment, he slightly shook his head and said, you're only the Southern Sea General. How would you know what this king is thinking? You can go in, but you must leave behind your Great General token. Damn it! The Southern Sea General angrily said. Fourth Crown Prince, are you trying to seize the opportunity to seize control of the Southern Sea region? How can this Great General token be controlled by you? This king does not want to control it. Ao Qian still shook his head. But if the Great General wants to enter the 7 Stars Palace, then the Great General must leave the Great General token to your trusted subordinate outside the 7 Stars Palace. This king does not want Xiao Hua to kill you and then obtain the Great General token and calmly escape the 7 Stars Palace. The Great General was somewhat hesitant. After all, he knew in his heart that the Great General token could mobilize the army of the Southern Sea. At the same time, it could also control part of the Dragon Palace's restrictive spell. If he could freely enter the 7 Stars Palace with the Great General token, then if Xiao Hua obtained the Great General token, he would naturally be able to calmly escape from the 7 Stars Palace and even escape from the Dragon Palace. If Xiao Hua really killed the 3 Crown Princes in the 7 Stars Palace, then wouldn't he be helping the evildoer? In addition, this king has already informed the 4 old consecrators. Ao Qian saw the Southern Sea General hesitate and took advantage of the situation to say, if the Great General enters the 7 Stars Palace, this king is not sure if the 4 old consecrators will activate the 7 Stars Palace's Great Formation. Of course, the Southern Sea General knew what the Great Formation Ao Qian was talking about was. He only hesitated for a moment before suddenly asking, what about Ao Ban, Ao Cheng, and Ao Qian? Ao Ban replied almost without hesitation. They naturally chased into the 7 Stars Palace in order to protect the 3 kings. The Southern Sea General nodded slightly, a thoughtful look flashing through his eyes. The 3 dragon generals he just mentioned were all the trusted dragon generals of the 1st Crown Prince, 2nd Crown Prince, and 3rd Crown Prince, just like Ao Qian's subordinate Ao Pu. These 3 dragon generals were all meticulous dragons. How could they casually follow the 3 Crown Princes into the 7 Stars Palace? Of course, the Southern Sea General could not rule out that there was a situation that he did not know about that forced these dragon generals to follow the three crown princes in, but this was already not something he wanted to think about. After the Southern Sea General nodded, he raised his hand and took out the Great General token from the long bay. He calmly said, "Fourth Prince, please wait a moment. This general has already issued the order. The 100,000 sea race closest to here are heading towards the Seven Stars Palace. After these sea race have gathered, this general will activate the great formation of the Seven Stars Palace to prevent Xueqi from escaping." Hearing the Southern Sea General call him Fourth Prince, the corner of Ao Qian's mouth curled into a faint proud smile. He then solemnly nodded and said, "That's right. What the great general thinks is exactly what this king wants. If my three brothers are still alive, they can take advantage of this opportunity to escape from inside. It's just that the Dragon King will be back soon." The Southern Sea General reminded him worriedly. Ao Qian also sighed and replied, "This king did not go through the great general's order to lead Xueqi into the Dragon Palace from the great formation of the Dragon Palace. This is this king's fault. This king will definitely not hide it. Sigh, this matter cannot be blamed on the Fourth Prince." Although the Southern Sea General did not understand the specific situation, seeing that Ao Qian had begun to form an offensive and defensive alliance, he hurriedly sighed and said, "Xueqi is the Dragon Master of the Dragon Island. Not to mention the Fourth Prince's negligence, even this general does not dare to offend him. This matter cannot be blamed on the Fourth Prince. Everything is up to Father's judgment. This king only hopes that my three brothers are safe and sound." Ao Qian glanced at the Seven Stars Palace and said with extreme sadness. The Southern Sea General knew what Ao Qian meant. He released his origin sense and swept through the space near the Seven Stars Palace. With a solemn expression he said, "Not good. The great formation of the Seven Stars Palace actually had some flaws under Xueqi's attack. If he used the trial formation of the Seven Stars Palace to kill the three princes, then now, I'm afraid he wants to escape from the formation." Ao Qian hurriedly shouted, "Quick, Great General. You must avenge this king's three brothers." "Okay." The Southern Sea General knew that this was the time to make a choice. He clenched his teeth and flew up. The huge golden dragon coiled in the air and waved the Great General's token in its claws into the palace where the Migres star was located. At the same time, the Southern Sea General spat out a mouthful of dragon breath. A sound similar to a wolf's howl came from the palace. A pillar of dragon patterns several miles in size condensed and rushed into the sky above the dragon palace. The dragon patterns began to rotate in the blink of an eye. Countless thumb-sized spiritual chi of heaven and earth fell into the pillar. A huge amount of spiritual chi rushed into the Migres star of the Seven Stars Palace. After the brilliance of the palace reached its peak, it suddenly disappeared. Then, the six palaces on the left also extinguished one after another in different order. However, when the brilliance of all the palaces disappeared, the entire bottom of the sea once again produced a sound similar to that of a drum. The bottom of the sea shook again. Inside the Seven Stars Palace, Xueqi urged his Transcendence golden body to shatter the shadows of the huge dragons. The entire space gradually fell into a kind of dim yellow. The thousands of dragon patterns disappeared along with this dim yellow. However, Xueqi's expression didn't become relaxed because of the destruction of the Great Desolation phenomenon. Instead, he looked at the dim yellow that filled the sky and frowned. Boom boom. Another familiar rumbling sound came from 1,000 miles to the left of Xueqi. At the place where the dragon shadows were shattered, huge earthen yellow spheres like stars gradually revealed their majestic figures in the dim yellow. Giant stone formation? Xueqi pinched his chin and looked at the spheres filling up the space of 1,000 miles. He couldn't help but be surprised. This great formation doesn't look like a great formation that suppresses the metal and wood elements. Could it be that this Xiao hasn't reached the great formation and is now just outside the defense of the great formation? Was it laid down by the previous masters of the Southern Sea Dragon Palace to prevent people from destroying this great formation? Just as Xueqi thought of this, the earthen yellow spheres began to shake and rumble. They smashed toward Xueqi according to a rather mysterious trajectory. Humph! Xueqi snorted coldly and released the power of his domain. He wanted to rely on the power of his domain to break this great formation. Unfortunately, just as he released the power of his domain, it was immediately disturbed by a strange fluctuation. Apart from being able to protect his body, it couldn't go far. Hee hee. Xiaohua laughed again and shouted, "If it were any other great formation, this Xiao might still be a little hesitant." However, this giant stone formation was something that this Xiao had experienced before I was pregnant. Looking at it now, it's really a little different. Chapter 4304. Just as Xiaohua was about to urge the hammer of divine will to smash these spheres into pieces, he discovered that the surface of these spheres was covered with uneven textures. These textures seemed to be innate. Waves of fluctuations were emitted from these textures, attracting the world's origin qi from within the void. The entire sphere was like a trembling fireball. When Xiaohua's divine will landed on it, it was immediately shattered by the vibrations, unable to exert any real strength. It seemed that even if Xiaohua wanted to use his divine will to smash the sphere, it would be impossible. Even so what? The corner of Xiaohua's mouth curled up. He raised his hand and slapped the top of his head. Puff! 5 elements true qi spurted out and condensed into the shape of a huge hand in midair. Wherever the wind passed, the void was torn apart by this huge hand. A sphere near the huge hand fell into this huge hand. Not only was the world's origin qi near the sphere imprisoned and could no longer tremble, even the textures on the sphere began to crack under the huge hand. Of course, in an instant the sphere was crushed by the huge hand. Boom! With a loud sound, it turned into rich earth origin qi of heaven and earth. It seems that Ao Qian was right. The bodies of the dragon clan in the South Sea Dragon Palace are mostly of the earth origin qi. The earth origin qi of heaven and earth in the South Sea Dragon Palace is also much richer than in other places. Presumably, there must be an earth origin stone vein near the Dragon Palace. The existence of metal and wood origin magnetism really affected the South Sea Dragon Palace. Seeing this situation, Xiaohua's doubts were reduced. Boom boom boom. While Xiaohua was pondering, the huge hand did not slow down. The huge hand formed by 5 elements true qi grabbed a sphere in the air and destroyed it. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, it had already crushed more than half of the spheres in the air. Swish swish swish. The sphere disappeared to a certain extent. Beneath Xiaohua's feet, the seemingly unbreakable shackles began to loosen. Magnetic forces suddenly passed through the shackles and fell onto Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua was shocked. He hurriedly moved his body to dodge, but he had only moved a few hundred feet away when the divine will had already scanned the incoming magnetic force. He stopped again. His face was filled with confusion. He actually flew a few hundred feet in the direction of the magnetic force. Whoosh! The slightly weak magnetic force passed through Xiaohua's body. Not only did it not cause any harm to Xiaohua's body, but it also caused the little inside Xiaohua's body to tremble slightly. It seemed to have stimulated the bloodline of the absolute saint in the little dot. How strange. Xiaohua might have thought that it was a coincidence when a single strand of origin magnetic force was like this, but it was the same for all the strands of origin magnetic force that entered his body. Rather than saying that this magnetic force was attacking Xiaohua, it was better to say that it was giving Xiaohua a massage. Xiaohua himself had refined the spirit execution primary light, and had even refined the magnetic force into the spirit execution primary light. Therefore, he was very familiar with the magnetic force. Seeing that the tamed magnetic force was completely different from the magnetic force he had seen in the other magnetic force spaces, he couldn't help but feel suspicious. Boom! Just as Xiaohua was starting to feel suspicious, another huge sound rang out in the sky. Xiaohua's divine sense quickly swept out, only to see that at the location of the heaven-forsaken star, the star that was as brilliant as the sun was emitting a brilliance that was 100 times brighter than the other stars. This brilliance burned the space within 100 miles to the point that it was somewhat distorted. Then, from this distorted space, a powerful metal and wood magnetic force crazily surged out. Hiss! Xiaohua sucked in a breath of cold air and cried out in surprise. What's going on? Why is this magnetic force of metal and wood several times stronger than the other magnetic forces? Could it be that the 7 stars formation of the South Sea Dragon Palace isn't used to suppress the magnetic force of metal and wood? Instead, it's using the magnetic force of metal and wood. It's just that, what does this formation use the magnetic force of metal and wood for? Only now did Xiaohua truly guess the purpose of the formation. Unfortunately, he already didn't have the time to think about it. The Migres star, along with the magnetic force of metal and wood, emitted a powerful destructive force. This brilliant star seemed to have been plucked from the blue dome of heaven and fell to the ground with a loud bang, falling towards Xueqi's location. Humph! Xueqi coldly snorted again and waved his hand to take out the spirit-killing vital light. However, what made Xueqi somewhat surprised was that although the Migres star fell, the powerful aura of desolation mixed with the killing magnetic force of metal and would also sealed a corner of the space. It didn't attack Xueqi's location at all. Boom! After the Migres star fell, the Fecta star to its left also fell. Similarly, even more magnetic forces of metal and wood rushed into the Fecta star. These magnetic forces of metal and wood also intertwined with the magnetic forces of the Migres star, filling up the space between the two. Not good. This is a large entrapment formation. Xueqi looked at these magnetic forces of metal and wood beginning to intertwine with each other and immediately understood. He formed a seal in his hand and hit the sword gourd. The spirit-killing vital light immediately rushed out of the sky and fell on the magnetic forces of metal and wood within the range of the Fecta star and the Migres star. Contrary to Xueqi's expectations, these magnetic forces of metal and wood were different from the magnetic forces of wood and water and fire and earth that Xueqi encountered in the ruins. Not only did they not merge with the magnetic forces of the spirit-killing vital light, but they instead resisted each other and were not absorbed by the sword gourd. Xueqi's heart thumped for no reason. Thinking of his encounter in the South Sea Dragon Palace today, an indescribable gloom arose from the bottom of his heart. Damn it, could it be that I was deceived by Ao Qian? But Xueqi was extremely puzzled again. In the stacked Jade Legacy realm, I didn't directly clash with Ao Qian. Why would he scheme against me for no reason? Although Xueqi didn't understand why Ao Qian schemed against him, the facts in front of him had already explained everything. As the Fecta star descended, the Dubhe star, Merak star, Alioth star, Mizar star, and Alkaid star also descended, completely sealing the space around Xueqi. In fact, after these 7 stars descended, the space around Xueqi expanded to several thousand kilometers. In particular, the metal and wood elemental magnetism driven by each star had filled up all the gaps. Not only were there dense light shadows as far as the eye could see, there were also many metal and wood elemental magnetism seeping out of the sealed space. Entangling with different metal and wood elemental magnetism, they formed strange metal and wood elemental magnetism light shadows. Xueqi's divine sense could no longer penetrate this huge magnetic light and shadow of metal and wood. He could only use his eyes to see this strange light and shadow. The 7 stars each occupied one side, arranging the skeleton of this light and shadow. Countless magnetic forces of metal and wood formed the outline of the light and shadow, densely packed like muscles. This light and shadow is so familiar. Xueqi suddenly stared blankly. A familiar feeling involuntarily emerged from the bottom of his heart. However, he was currently inside the light and shadow, so he couldn't see everything clearly. For a moment, he couldn't tell what this familiar light and shadow was. Swish, swish, swish. Once the light and shadow formed, countless magnetic forces of metal and wood mixed with the 7 strange waves began to attack Xueqi. The waves and magnetic forces of metal and wood hadn't yet fallen, but the power that could tear a body apart had already firmly suppressed Xueqi's body. And the strange waves of magnetic forces that were even stronger than the magnetic forces entered Xueqi's body. Boom! Xueqi felt his blood vessels explode all of a sudden, as if they were about to break out of his body. Xueqi was greatly alarmed. Chapter 4305. The trial lasted for the time it took for an incense stick to burn before the fluctuations slowly slowed down. At the same time, the chaotic world was also annihilated in the light and shadow. Then, another wave of energy came from planet Tianxian. Another barren world was born. In this barren world, 100 saints were showing off their might and 10,000 dragons were wreaking havoc. All kinds of barren worlds were imprinted in Xueqi's mind and merged with his previous memories. The wave of energy then continued to merge with the bloodline of the Absolute Saint. In this way, Fecta star, Migres star, Alioth star, Mizar star, and all the way to Alkaid star. Each star had a different fluctuation, and each fluctuation corresponded to a different world. The instant the Alkaid star was annihilated, boom! The void above Xiao Hua's head split open, and a vast and boundless starry sky appeared in front of Xiao Hua. This starry sky was completely different from the starry sky that Xiao Hua usually saw. Above the starry sky, every star emitted a vivid starlight. These starlights were like flames, attracting the supreme saint bloodline in Xiao Hua's body. Above the starry sky, Dubhe, Merak, Fekta, Megrez, Alioth, Mizar, and Alcade formed the Big Dipper, which was dazzling and even exceptionally large. This isn't the Seven Stars Palace's dragon formation. Xiao Hua unfolded his phoenix body and flapped his wings, causing a whistling gale to emerge from the void. When Xiao Hua felt that the starry sky was filled with the wild, unruly and free power of the stars and moon, he suddenly came to a realization and exclaimed, even if that dragon formation was 100 times stronger, it still wouldn't have such power. Rumble, rumble, rumble. While Xiao Hua was still in shock, countless brilliant stars in the starry sky seemed to explode, emitting a powerful beam of starlight. This beam of light carried a world-destroying aura as it blasted towards Xiao Hua's phoenix body. Damn it! Seeing this, Xiao Hua turned pale with fright. If this light beam landed on his body, he would be smashed into pieces. Fellow Taoist, don't worry. At this time, Feng Wu's voice was extremely pleasantly surprised. This is the star worship saint that my demon race must go through to become a great saint. I only need to go through this tribulation to become a great saint. Ah? Xiao Hua was shocked. Fellow Taoist, you're only at the initial stage of the space-devouring realm. Although your strength has reached the 9th level of origin energy, how can you become a great saint now? Fellow Taoist, do you still not understand? The so-called realms were nothing more than a convenient way to distinguish the various cultivation methods. The position of a great sage was similar to the Buddhist sect's Buddha fruit and the Confucian cultivators' Wen Chu. One didn't need to be strong. As long as one could obtain the recognition of the stars in the sky and draw the star mark into one's body, one could become a great sage. If you can't obtain the recognition of the stars, even if you're at the peak of the 9th grade, you won't be able to become a great sage. Feng Wu explained patiently. Xiao Hua laughed loudly and said, I understand. Even someone as strong as the Dragon Island's 9th elder could not obtain the extraterrestrial star mark. He was merely a 9th grade elemental energy expert and not a great sage. Although the mystic armored Pentaceratops wasn't an elder of Dragon Island, it was able to obtain the extraterritorial star mark by chance and become a great saint, dominating the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. But then again, what's the use of the star mark? Feng Wu shook her head and said, this star mark is similar to fellow Taoist Confucian cultivators' Wen Chu star. If I hadn't obtained it, I wouldn't have known its use. Although I obtained the bloodline of a great sage, I also didn't know how to become a great sage. Before the star mark fell, I also didn't know what use it had. In any case, I have to congratulate fellow Taoist Feng Wu. After cultivating for so long with great difficulty, you've finally reached the final step. Although it came so suddenly, fellow Taoist has accumulated enough. Speaking of which, success comes naturally when the conditions are right. While speaking, Xiao Hua laughed loudly and wanted to cup his hands. However, at this moment, he was completely confined by the starlight. He couldn't even move his arms. At this moment, the starlight in the sky shone brightly. That indescribable extraterritorial light filled the entire sky. The starlight was full of pressure, firmly suppressing Xiao Hua's physical body, divine sense, and so on. Not to mention Feng Wu coming out of Xiao Hua's body. Even the blood vessels in Xiao Hua's body couldn't move in the slightest. Therefore, Feng Wu could only reply in his consciousness. My joy is also fellow Taoist's joy. Same joy, same joy. However, I's cultivation is different from Nanwu Methraya's and Wuntsu's. My demon race relies on devouring. As long as my appetite is good, I can take a few more steps. Compared to them, it's much easier. The demon race. If that's the case, then you're even more blessed by the heavens than the human race. Xiao Hua's words were very thought-provoking. Boom. While speaking, the first ray of the power of the stars and moon fell into Xiao Hua's phoenix body. Xiao Hua's phoenix body violently trembled. According to the 132 million small dots, there were 132 million small cracks. These cracks weren't real cracks, but because the power of the nebula made Xiao Hua's phoenix body transparent, they looked like cracks. At this moment, an indescribable fluctuation and comprehension, mixed with even more desolate age anomalies, entered Xueqi's mind from this transparent place. Whoa! Xueqi's phoenix body suddenly let out a howl and rose more than 300 meters. Xueqi's physical body had already lost its pain. He only felt as if his head had been chopped open by an axe, and many desolate age anomalies were stuffed into it by the stars. Damn it, why is it like this every time? Xueqi helplessly groaned. Although he had comprehended many truths of heaven and earth, he had only reached the peak of the cultivation world after all. He was still far from being able to truly comprehend these truths of heaven and earth. Forcefully breaking through several times like this really made him feel helpless. At this moment, Feng Wu's voice sounded, "Fellow Taoist, don't be anxious. This is just the beginning. There's more to come." No way. Xueqi naturally knew that Feng Wu was right. However, when he looked at the almost endless starry sky above his head, he felt powerless. It was as if the heavenly Tao was too huge, and he was too insignificant. No matter what, he couldn't integrate the heavenly Tao into his body. Seeing the second ray of light falling, Xueqi's mind raced. He wanted to hide in Shenhua continent or let heavenly Tao Xueqi come out. Unfortunately, under the confinement of the stars and moon, his mind couldn't move. Am I going to die? Xueqi felt his head instantly expand. He didn't dare to imagine if his head would explode when all the power of the stars and moon fell. What should I do? If the Phoenix Dharma body was here, perhaps it could. At this moment, Xueqi couldn't help but think of the Phoenix Dharma body that he had lost long ago. He thought of the Phoenix Dharma body devouring the spirit essence that day. His eyes lit up, and it was as if thunder had struck his mind. Damn it, I was wrong. This stars surround the moon originally belonged to fellow Taoist Feng Wu. Why was I causing trouble here? I can't hold it in my mind, but fellow Taoist Feng Wu can. If he can't, then these 132 million bloodlines can. Following which, Xueqi's consciousness no longer took the lead and let Feng Wu's consciousness take control of the body. Boom. Boom. Sure enough, just as Xueqi's consciousness fell into the lower layer, the entire void changed again. The rays of light from the stars and moon that fell one after another became irregular and fell one by one at the same time, hitting Feng Wu's body. Tch! Feng Wu stretched out its neck and let out a long cry. The aura of the entire realm gushed out. Although its entire body couldn't move, under the bombardment of the rays of light from the stars and moon, it slowly rose up and actually gave birth to a kind of graceful bearing of soaring in the region. As expected, Xueqi's consciousness hid under Feng Wu and felt some enlightenment. He also sensed that the primordial phenomena that Feng Wu couldn't contain fell into the other bloodlines of the phoenix body. Xueqi already had a realization in his heart. After an unknown amount of time, Feng Wu's body was completely transparent. At this moment, Feng Wu was already above the starry sky. Feng Wu didn't know how big it was. However, at this moment, Feng Wu was only 100 feet away from the numerous stars. Xueqi couldn't see the stars in the outer realm more clearly than at this moment. However, he saw that these stars were the same size as Feng Wu's body. Under the starlight, they actually condensed into various primordial beasts. Although these primordial beasts had their eyes closed, the aura around them covered the entire starry sky. Xueqi was stunned. After all, he had seen a sky full of stars under the heavenly Tao starry sky. In the literary song of all beings, he had also seen the literati star and the stars formed by the saints. Now that he saw the starry sky that was dominated by thousands of demons, it was really a kind of subversion of his understanding. However, after a moment, Xueqi understood. He had already obtained the primordial purple vapor. The various comprehensions had gradually entered his physical body from the nascent soul's spirit body. He began to have a deep understanding of these. Perhaps there was only one heavenly Tao, but under the various cultivation methods, the appearance was different. It would be strange if he saw the saints of the human race in the center of the demon race. At this moment, Feng Wu also seemed to have turned into a star. That valiant aura was on par with the thousands of saints of the demon race in the starry sky. However, there was still a little bit of deficiency, like a kind of visual deficiency. And this little deficiency seemed to be extremely important. It made Feng Wu's demon body unable to reach perfection, and it couldn't be on par with the thousands of saints of the demon race. Xueqi was hidden under Feng Wu's phoenix body. He had already seen the Big Dipper that was 100 feet tall. At this time, the Big Dipper was completely different from the other stars. This Big Dipper wasn't like the previous giant whale, shrimp, or crab, nor was it like the great saint of the demon race. It was just 7 stars that emitted a primitive aura. Although it was only 100 feet away, this 100 feet was like 100,000 miles, making Xueqi feel that it was unreachable. But just as this distant feeling was born, that primitive aura rushed into Feng Wu's phoenix body's mouth and nose, making Xueqi feel that the Big Dipper was in his heart. Not good. Seeing that the Big Dipper in the void suddenly flashed brilliantly at the same time, 7 huge pillars of light from the stars and the moon strangely twisted in the 100 feet of the void and fell towards Feng Wu's huge phoenix body. Feng Wu suddenly panicked. P.S. Thank you, Alliance Leader, for your habit and freedom. Chapter 4306. Feng Wu's panicked voice suddenly came. When an ordinary demon becomes a great sage, they just engrave a star mark in their demon body. How did I trigger the engraving of the Big Dipper at the same time? With Feng Wu's exclamation, Xueqi immediately understood that the star mark of the great sage that his phoenix body wanted to achieve was the Big Dipper. If it was an ordinary demon, they only needed to find the recognition of one of the 7 stars, Dubhe, Merak, Fekta, Megrez, Alioth, Mizar, and Alcade, to become a great sage. However, Feng Wu actually got the recognition of the Big Dipper at the same time. Although he didn't know what the primitive catalog contained in the last step of the light pillar would be, Xueqi couldn't help but have a headache when he thought that other demon clans only needed one to become a great sage. He needed to engrave 7 stars at the same time, which was 7 times more than other demon clans. Of course, Xueqi knew that although his current situation was very dangerous, if he passed it safely, the benefits he would get would be 7 times more than ordinary demon clan great sages. The problem now was how to pass this crisis. After all, whether it was Feng Wu or Xueqi, or even Xueqi's other doppelgangers, they didn't have the experience of becoming a great sage. As the 7 star pillars fell with the brilliance of the Big Dipper that illuminated the entire starry sky suddenly darkened, as if the 7 stars were falling with the brilliance. Although the 7 incomparably vast streams of stellar energy only passed through 100 zhang of space, this 100 zhang of space was like the distance between heaven and earth. The stellar radiance slowly descended, and with every drop of a foot, Feng Wu's phoenix body would tremble violently, as if her transparent demonic body was about to shatter. Seeing that the 7 star pillars were about to approach, in the entire starry sky, the demon clan's 10,000 saints who had their eyes closed suddenly opened their eyes. Some had 1 eye, some had 2 eyes, and even more great sages had multiple eyes. The eyes of the saints were filled with indifference, and there was no welcome or enthusiasm at all. When the eyes of the saints fell on Feng Wu's body, the 10,000 saints roared in unison. The indifference in their eyes disappeared, and they were all filled with anger and panic. With this roar, the entire void shattered, and the star pillars that were about to fall on Feng Wu's phoenix body actually stopped on the surface of Feng Wu's body. The 10,000 saints of the demon race actually wanted to stop Feng Wu from becoming a great saint. Gah! Just as the saints were roaring furiously, a consciousness that was even more arrogant and violent than Feng Wu's emerged from the depths of Feng Wu's consciousness and forcibly took control of Feng Wu's body. Even Xueqi's consciousness seemed to have been attacked by a violent storm. He turned into a pitiful little chick hiding under the fence of his body, secretly avoiding the rain. The will took control of the Phoenix Parasol's demonic body. In the shattered void, the Phoenix body expanded once more. It spread its wings and broke free from the shackles of space, flying several feet into the sky. Boom, boom, boom. 7 huge explosions resounded through the starry sky. What surprised Xueqi was that the 7 pillars of stars had landed on 7 of the 132,200 small dots. The bloodlines of the 7 dots began to mutate in the pillars of stars. As they fused with the transparent body, 7 star patterns slowly formed on the transparent body at the same time. Each of the tiny star patterns carried a mysterious aura and the incomparably vast power of the stars and moon. In the original starry sky, the 7 stars of the Big Dipper had already turned into an illusion. Why are there star patterns? What about the star marks we agreed on? Xueqi was a little puzzled, but he didn't have time to think about it. Countless strange runes, countless insights, and countless diagrams smashed into Xueqi's consciousness like huge stars. Damn it, Other than Xueqi of the heavenly Tao, I can't think of any other way to save him. This is forcing him to abdicate. Xueqi already understood the plan of his demon phoenix body. But at this time, other than reaching out, what else could he do? Unless he didn't plan to let his demon body clone live. Unless he didn't want to have a physical body anymore. Fortunately, because the starry sky was shattered and because of the appearance of the heavenly phoenix consciousness, Xueqi's consciousness could already escape into space. Xueqi fell into the void without hesitation. The Jade Archive Xueqi appeared. Xueqi of the heavenly Tao already understood the cause and effect of this. Boom. The void inside Xueqi's space also shook. Xueqi of the heavenly Tao followed Xueqi's consciousness into the void outside. When Xueqi of the heavenly Tao appeared, it was like a giant whale swallowing water. The mysteries of the stars contained in the 7 star patterns continuously fell into Xueqi of the heavenly Tao. The demon phoenix body was like a sun that emitted a brilliant light. This light became brighter and brighter, gradually illuminating the entire shattered void and suppressing the aura of all the demon race great saints in the starry sky. That dazzling brilliance even forced all the demon race great saints to close their eyes and restrain their aura. The entire shattered void wilderness slowly recovered under this light. Moreover, as the mysteries of the stars fell, the star formed by the phoenix body slowly rose. It crossed a distance of hundreds of feet and was on par with all the demon race great saints. The moment the heavenly phoenix's star was on par with the great saints of the demon race, there was a boom. A seemingly metamorphosed impact was born from the heavenly phoenix's body and charged toward the entire void. Not only did it distort the light and shadow of the void, but it also caused the stars of the great saints of the demon race to dim even more. Not only that, this impact rushed to the end of the void and didn't stop. It still surpassed the limits of the void and rushed madly into an unknown place. At the same time, boom boom boom. In the sky above the 1,000 demons' sacred realm, it was originally a downpour of rain at noon. Countless roars rushed out from the depths of the firmament. The raging storm instantly stopped, and the dark clouds that completely covered the continent were instantly torn apart by an even more violent storm. The clear sky appeared before the demon race great saints. The blazing sun that was like a fireball also appeared in the clear sky. Unfortunately, in just a few moments, the roars spread across the sky, and the intense power of the stars and the moon appeared again. Countless stars that should have been shining brightly in the dark night suddenly shone from where the roars came from. This starlight tore the entire firmament apart. 1-2. In just a few breaths, the starry sky was completely revealed in the sky above the 1,000 demons' sacred realm. In this starry sky, the lonely sun had completely lost its former dazzling brilliance. 7 roars rang out, and the 7 stars of the Big Dipper joined together in the starry sky, proudly looking down on the entire demon race great saints. The brilliant starlight not only illuminated the entire starry sky, but also the entire 1,000 demons' sacred realm. The sudden change in the sky shocked the demon race great saints. The demon race great saints were at a loss as they stared at the sudden appearance of the starry night in disbelief. They were even more confused by the power of the stars and the moon that suddenly filled the 1,000 demons' sacred realm. Even more demon race great saints immediately used secret techniques, and the power of the stars and the moon that was more than 10 times denser than normal surged into different parts of their demon race great saints. In the extreme north of the 1,000 demons' sacred realm, there was a deep abyss that was several thousand kilometers wide. This abyss was filled with strange rocks, and there were many thumb-sized red demon trees on top of the rocks. These demon trees created illusions under the light of the stars and the moon, turning into fist-sized dragon shadows. With a loud bang, a bright silver crystal pillar suddenly appeared in the abyss. The crystal pillar became even more resplendent under the power of the moon and stars. Before the crystal pillar could fall, another dragon that was tens of kilometers long rushed out from where the crystal pillar came from. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws. This dragon race great saint's body was covered in black dragon scales, and there were strange patterns on the scales. When the patterns connected together, it was like a black armor on the dragon race great saint's body. Roar! The dragon race great saint's loud roar shook the space for nearly 10,000 kilometers. The star moon great saint's power immediately turned into fist-sized crystal flowers. The dragon race great saint raised its head, and the dragon race great saint's horn was revealed. This dragon race great saint's horn was different from ordinary dragon race great saint's horn. It had 5 petals, and each petal was engraved with star marks. These star marks flashed with black light under the crystal flowers, and they condensed into the shape of a dragon race great saint. This is a great saint with demon race great saint? Why is this star image so strange? The mysterious armored dragon rushed into the air, and his eyes flashed with starlight. He looked at the Big Dipper in the sky with surprise, and the crystal flowers danced around his body. In just a moment, the mysterious armored dragon opened its mouth again, and countless crystal flowers fell into his mouth. Layers of black light rippled from his armor, and the mysterious armored dragon muttered to himself, But who became a great saint? In this saint's impression, it's impossible for a demon to become a great saint in the last 10,000 years in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Furthermore, if a demon became a great saint, there should be a celestial phenomenon at his location. The Big Dipper's star marks fell directly with the celestial phenomenon. Why? Is the Big Dipper's brilliance shining over the entire Thousand Demons sacred realm? Could it be that this newly ascended great saint isn't in the Thousand Demons sacred realm? Or is it that the outer realm star energy can't reach his location? Even this saint didn't dare to become a great saint outside of the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Who knows what the immortal emperor or Mahavairakana is planning? If I'm unlucky, I'll fall into their hands. Not only will I not be able to become a great saint, I won't even be able to keep my life. It seems that this newly ascended great saint is very meticulous. He must be hiding in a secret place, and no one can find out. The mysterious armored dragon seemed to have realized something as he looked at the strange phenomenon in the sky. However, since there's a newly ascended great saint, the other 5 saints will definitely know. The Great Holy Hall, which has been cold for 10,000 years, will definitely be lively today. This saint will go and see just what kind of demon was able to hide from this saint's eyes and ears. With that, the mysterious armored dragon rushed into the sky. His dragon body, which was thousands of kilometers long, was even more majestic than a mountain ridge. In just a few breaths, his enormous body turned invisible again, and an indescribable aura blew towards a certain place in the Thousand Demons sacred realm faster than the wind. Chapter 4307. Elsewhere in the Thousand Beast sacred realm, there was a crimson lake of lava. The moment the power of the moon and stars descended, the entire lake began to boil violently. Soon after, a vermilion bird that was over 50 kilometers long flew out of the lake. Scorching lava slowly dripped down the vermilion bird's feathers, and crimson flames that were several kilometers tall appeared around the vermilion bird. As soon as the vermilion bird soared into the sky, it spread its wings wide, covering an area of nearly 1,000 miles. At the same time, half a star mark appeared under each wing, shining brightly with the crimson flames. The vermilion bird's crimson flames filled up the starlight, making it look like a star again. Who is it? As the vermilion bird flapped its wings, its crimson flames devoured the power of the moon and stars for thousands of miles. At the same time, it let out a shrill cry. Who dares to become a great saint before Xueqi? Damn it! This saint will definitely not forgive him. However, the vermilion bird was the same as the profound armored dragon. Just as it began to fly, it stopped in midair and tilted its head to look at the Big Dipper in the sky. That's not right. In the entire Thousand Demons sacred realm, aside from Xueqi, who could possibly become a great saint within 100,000 years, who else could possibly enter the Great Saint Palace? This is too strange. That's not right. This doesn't seem to be a simple great saint. The vermilion bird suddenly seemed to realize something. Looking at the sky again, it cried out in shock. Why did the Big Dipper appear all of a sudden? Who has the guts to imprint all 7 stars into a demon body? Damn it, this saint had split 1 star into 2 and imprinted it into 2 wings. Does he not want to live anymore? While the vermilion bird was still in shock, the already bright Big Dipper lit up again, twice as bright as before. As expected. The vermilion bird's mouth fell open in shock. Looking at the Big Dipper again, it lit up continuously, each time brighter than the last. In the end, the Big Dipper was completely lit up, shining 7 times brighter than before. How is this possible? The crimson flame vermilion bird was completely dumbstruck. It didn't even care about the crimson flames in the surrounding space as it stared blankly at the Big Dipper. Beneath the South Sea, in the Dragon Palace that was completely covered by the boundless sea, the Seven Stars Palace had completely restored the void. After the demonic phoenix's phoenix body was on par with the many great sages of the demon clan, her phoenix body rose again. 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, 3,000 feet. Finally, she rose to a height of more than 6,000 feet. Although it was only 6,000 feet tall, the phoenix body star gave off a feeling of tilting the heavens. Wan Shang of the demon clan, who had tried to stop Feng Wu from becoming a great saint, opened his eyes again. There was only shock, fear, and submission in his eyes. All of this was clearly seen by Xiao Hua's consciousness. Only now did Xiao Hua realize that the stars formed by the great sages of the demon clan were not completely on the same plane. Some were slightly higher, some were slightly lower, and there were also some that were more than 100 feet tall. However, an existence like him, who was 6,000 feet tall, hadn't noticed it yet. Caw! The demonic phoenix let out another long cry. Its powerful consciousness rushed into the nearby starry sky as if it was demonstrating its might. Wherever this consciousness swept past, the stars that had transformed into great sages of the demon race all closed their eyes. Their starlight slowly weakened, and they turned into ordinary stars. The void around these stars also began to blur. Boom! At the same time as the void blurred, another arched bridge of starlight broke through the void and landed right below the demonic phoenix. On the other side of the starlight, a huge, magnificent palace appeared in the void. Great Sage Palace? Xiao Hua was overjoyed when he saw it. He originally wanted to go to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. With the Great Sage Palace's star bridge, wouldn't it save him a lot of trouble? Unfortunately, just as Xiao Hua's joy was born, the demonic phoenix spread its wings and struck the star bridge with a bang, instantly turning it into dust. At the same time, the phantom of the great sacred hall also disappeared in the blink of an eye. Tch! The demonic phoenix let out a long cry of disdain, and then its powerful consciousness retreated like the tide. The demonic phoenix left. Xiao Hua of the heavenly Tao did not wait for Xiao Hua's consciousness to return. He also turned into nothingness and hid in space. Before Xiao Hua could say anything, a starry sky comprehension was transmitted into his mind. Xiao Hua did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly ordered Feng Wu's consciousness to take over, while he concentrated on finishing up. The demonic phoenix's consciousness disappeared, and Feng Wu comprehended its own star imprints. Only Xiao Hua's consciousness returned. Just as Xiao Hua's mind returned to its original position, a kind of exhaustion after extreme excitement attacked him at the same time. Xiao Hua urged his monster body to flap his wings, and the power of the stars and moons slowly entered his body. The small dot engraved with the pattern of the Big Dipper also entered his body. 7 star patterns that were not much bigger than sesame seeds appeared on his back. If one did not look carefully, perhaps no one would be able to discover them, right? When Xiao Hua retracted his wings, the starlight in the void had already disappeared. Xiao Hua did not move at all, but his figure had already retreated from the void. The void was like a curtain, slowly closing behind him. Xiao Hua's body returned to its original state, still remaining in the Dragon Palace's dragon array. However, at this time, the 7 brilliant stars that formed Great God Shibai had completely dimmed. The white and blue magnetic force that had previously filled the 7 Stars Palace's space had also disappeared, leaving only 7 empty star shells floating powerlessly in the air. Fellow Taoist. At this time, Feng Wu's voice appeared in Xiao Hua's mind again. Has the star worship ended? It ended. Xiao Hua replied as if relieved of a heavy burden. After I took over the phoenix body, it ended. So fast. Feng Wu's voice was a little surprised, but it did not reveal any special shock. Xiao Hua stared blankly, then immediately understood, and said with a smile, Fellow Taoist seems to have comprehended in the void for another 1,000 years, right? It's more than 1,000 years. Feng Wu smiled bitterly and sighed. Others have obtained the recognition of 1 star, but I got 7 at once. With so many star imprints, I don't know how many years of vicissitudes were recorded. Of course, fellow Taoist Tian Dao resisted in front of me, but if I became a true great saint, I would have to spend tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years to comprehend. How could I comprehend it? What? Hearing this, Xiao Hua was shocked. Just now it was only a moment, but fellow Taoist actually comprehended hundreds of thousands of years. Feng Wu Xiaohua nodded and said, I don't know exactly how much, but it's more than hundreds of thousands of years, definitely not less. To a great saint of the demon race, time can only be a kind of flowing water. Then, fellow Taoist strength? Xiaohua said in shock, isn't it more powerful than us? I'm still at the 9th level of origin energy. Feng Wu said with a smile, fellow Taoist, are you disappointed? Nonsense. Xiaohua spat and said, we've narrowly escaped death, so how can we still be at the 9th level of origin energy? Actually, fellow Taoist already knows. So why are you joking with I? Feng Wu Xiaohua smiled strangely, and did not answer. Xiaohua sighed and said, I don't know, I just hope that there's a kind of luck. Unfortunately, I was still disappointed. Within the 3 continents, only one great saint is allowed to exist. Fellow Taoist may be much stronger than a great saint, but you're definitely not 7 times stronger than a great saint. Moreover, I also know that the title of great saint is actually the same as the Buddhist sect's Buddha fruit. It's just that you have more chances to shatter the void compared to other demons. In terms of strength, even if fellow Taoist is now a great saint and has comprehended for hundreds of thousands of years or even longer, you still have a long way to go to surpass the 9th level of origin energy. Chapter 4308. Putting aside the fact that the distant Thousand Demons sacred realm was in a mess due to Feng Wu becoming a great saint, it was another situation outside the 7 Stars Palace. This was because the demon clan's Star Surround Saint needed to draw upon the power of the stars. Xiaohua happened to be in the South Sea Dragon Palace at this time. Not to mention how strong the dragon formation of the South Sea Dragon Palace was. Just the depth of the South Sea alone blocked the power of the stars outside the Dragon Palace. Feng Wu could only rely on the void to draw upon the power of the stars. Therefore, although the Stars Surround Saint caused a great commotion in the Thousand Demons sacred realm in the void, it did not attract the attention of the Dragon Clan or the Sea Clan outside the 7 Stars Palace. No one knew that the most powerful great saint of the Demon Clan had been born in front of them. Even if they were ignorant, Ao Qian and the South Sea Great General's hearts clenched when they saw that the 7 tower-shaped palaces in the 7 Stars Palace had lost their brilliance and that endless rumbling sounds were suddenly heard from the 7 Stars Palace. When the entire bottom of the sea returned to normal, the brilliance of the 7 Stars Palace did not return to normal. The faces of the 2 Dragon Clan members were deathly pale. They looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. This was the most powerful matrix that the Southern Sea General could activate. Even this matrix could not kill Xiaohua. The 2 of them were really helpless. Ao Qian, Ao Xian. What the hell is going on? Just as the 2 Dragon Clan members were at a loss, an old voice came from afar. Ao Huan, Ao Zhen, Ao Wu. Why did you follow that bullshit Dragon Master into the 7 Stars Palace? Before this voice fell, another different voice sounded. Ao Xian. You actually mobilized an army to surround the 7 Stars Palace? Are you out of your mind? If the Sea Clan takes the opportunity to attack the South Sea Dragon Palace, won't the defense of the South Sea Dragon Palace become a decoration? For great-grandfathers. At this point, Ao Qian no longer cared whether the 4 consecrators were his great-grandfathers or not. He seemed to have seen his last life-saving straw and urged his dragon body to pounce over. When he saw an old dragon emitting silver light, he immediately cried, "You're finally here. You must avenge my 3 poor brothers." What? Ao Huan, Ao Zhen, and Ao Wu are dead? How is that possible? An old dragon clad in copper armor flew behind the 2 old dragons. He cried out in disbelief. Didn't I hear that Dragon Master was only at the 6th level of elemental energy? Tell me quickly. What's going on? Before Ao Qian could say anything, a thunderous voice rang out, and several bolts of lightning appeared above the 7 Stars Palace. Although an old dragon with a purple body was flying at the back, it had already surpassed the other 3 dragons and appeared in the seawater above the 7 Stars Palace. Ao Qian didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly explained the cause of the matter in full detail. Then, he gave the Southern Sea Great General Ao Xian a look. Ao Xian also agreed and explained the situation of the 7 Stars Palace. Finally, he smiled bitterly and said, "For old consecrators, if this junior's guess is correct, that Dragon Master Xiaohua has ulterior motives. His target is the metal, wood, and magnetism below the Seven Stars Palace. This item is the core of the Seven Stars Palace's trial. Without this item, the Seven Stars Palace wouldn't exist. Presumably, the three crown princes saw through Xiao Hua's sinister intentions and worked together to stop him. However, Xiao Hua concealed his strength and killed the three crown princes. He also took the opportunity to charge through the trial's great array and attempted to approach the metal, wood, and magnetism. Although this junior activated the final killing array, I still couldn't kill him. I wonder if the four consecrators have any ideas? Hearing that Aoxin had already activated the killing array, the four old consecrators' expressions changed greatly. Finally, the purple old dragon shouted with a stern voice. Are you sure that Ao Huan, Ao Zhan, and Ao Wu have already died in Xiao Hua's hands? Otherwise, this killing array would have killed the three of them. Boy can confirm. Ao Qian raised his dragon claw and the wound on his abdomen and said. Before Xiao Hua entered the Seven Stars Palace, he casually injured Boy. Although the three elder brothers are stronger than Boy, they aren't that much stronger. Moreover, the Grade 8 Trial's Great Array was activated by Xiao Hua. His strength should be around the middle of the 8th grade of essence energy. Even Big Brother isn't his match. Moreover, under the Trial's Great Array, I'm afraid Big Brother will also fall. Damn it, damn it, damn it. The purple old dragon's temper was more violent. After cursing 3 times, 3 lightning bolts appeared. Then, the dragon's body was about to pounce towards the Seven Stars Palace. Aoliang! The silver old dragon hurriedly shouted. Don't be impatient. If we forcefully enter the Seven Stars Palace, not only will we be trapped by the trial's great array, we might even let the thief escape from the Seven Stars Palace. Then what do we do? Are we just going to watch? The purple old dragon Aoliang was clearly the impulsive type of dragon. As he shouted loudly, his dragon body flashed with lightning bolts that wreaked havoc in the sea. The surrounding Seven Stars Palace was so frightened that they all retreated more than 1,000 zhang. The silver old dragon turned his head to look at the red old dragon and transmitted a message in a low voice. Ao Xiao, currently in the Seven Stars Palace, the brilliance of the trial's great array has disappeared. The dragon's might and magnetic force produced when the great array was activated also didn't leak out. If I'm not wrong, that thief called Xiao Hua should have already passed through the trial's great array. Impossible. The red old dragon Ao Xiao shook his head with certainty. If the brilliance of the Seven Stars Palace had already disappeared before Aoxin activated the killing array, then Xiao Hua could indeed have passed through the trial's great array. However, since he passed through the trial's great array, the Seven Stars Palace should have opened. The current situation is that the Seven Stars Palace hasn't opened yet. Aoxin has already activated the killing array. After the killing array, there's no movement in the Seven Stars Palace. The only possibility is Xiao Hua has already used a Taoist spell to break the great array and is now directly entering the core of the Seven Stars Palace. That's what Aoshi said. He wants to snatch the metal and wood magnetic force. But there's something fishy about this. The silver old dragon smiled bitterly. If Xiao Hua wants to snatch the metal and wood magnetic force, then so be it. But why did Ao Huan and the others also go in? This really makes us hesitate to attack the rat for fear of breaking the vases. Big Brother. The red old dragon Ao Xiao sneered. We don't know how Ao Huan, Ao Zhan, and Ao Wu went in, but they must have already died. As for the truth behind his death, it's not something we can guess. Moreover, Aog must have understood something. That's why he's standing there without saying a word. While speaking, Ao Xiao looked at the yellow old dragon opposite the Seven Stars Palace. That old dragon felt his gaze and looked over as well. He nodded slightly at Ao Xiao. Aog. The silver old dragon transmitted his voice. What should we do now? There's no need to know the details. That's the Dragon King's business. We just need to know the outcome. The yellow old dragon Aog answered without hesitation. Activate the dragon form array of the Seven Stars Palace and suppress everything inside. We'll wait for the Dragon King to return. Okay, this old man has the same plan. The silver old dragon nodded. Then he raised his head and roared. The seawater within 100 miles shook as if it was boiling. Then, the silver old dragon shouted, General of the Southern Sea, listen to my order. Set up the Overturn Oceans array and surround the Seven Stars Palace. Yes, when the Southern Sea Great General heard the order, he raised his hand and took out a khaki-colored sea flag from the long bay. He unfurled it in the sea, and tens of thousands of waves rippled out from the sea flag, covering an area of several thousand miles around the Seven Stars Palace. Then, the Southern Sea Great General Aoxin said in a dignified voice, "Sea Clan, Dragon Generals, set up the Overturn Oceans formation." Woo-woo. The peaceful South Sea Dragon Palace was in an uproar again. All kinds of sea clans and dragon generals followed the wave of the sea flags and moved towards their respective positions in a well-trained manner. In less than 5 minutes, a solemn and powerful Overturn Oceans formation had been set up. The formation was like a huge wave that converged from the outside to the inside, surrounding the Seven Stars Palace so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Let's activate the Dragon Form Array. Seeing that the Southern Sea General had finished setting up the Overturn Oceans Array, the Silver Old Dragon roared again and ordered. Great-grandfather. Aog was stunned when he heard that. He said in shock, "Aren't you going to enter the Seven Stars Palace and kill that damned Xiaohua? Perhaps. My 3 elder brothers still have a chance to survive." That's right. The purple old dragon Aoliang was also puzzled. "AOU, us 4 dragons entering the Seven Stars Palace is still not enough to capture that Xiaohua? He's just a human with an 8th level essence power. I'd like to see how this bullshit human dares to call himself a dragon master." Aoliang. The silver old dragon Aou replied indifferently. "We've already passed the age of fighting and killing. Why are you still as impulsive as Ao Qian? Don't you know what we're going to do now?" Hearing the silver old dragon say that he was impulsive, Aoliang couldn't help but want to jump up and refute. However, the yellow old dragon Aog said indifferently, "Aoliang, if you want to enter the Seven Stars Palace, then go ahead. We're about to activate the Dragon Form Array. We don't care about the lives of the Dragon Clan inside." Aoliang roared and created a few more thunderbolts in the seawater. Then, he waved his claw and took out an ancient crystal plate from the long bay. As he breathed out his dragon breath, the crystal plate turned into a dragon and pounced on the Seven Stars Palace. Seeing that Aoliang moved, Aog and the other 2 dragons also took out their crystal tokens and threw them into the Seven Stars Palace. Ao Qian's face was a little pale. He knew better than Aoliang that whether it was the silver old dragon Aou or the yellow old dragon Aog, their words had a double meaning. They clearly expressed their attitude. They didn't care about the truth of the matter. They only wanted to protect the stability of the Dragon Palace. All the details and decisions would be left to the Dragon King of the South Sea who hadn't appeared yet. Therefore, Ao Qian's wishful thinking of using the 4 consecrators to kill Xiaohua was not going to work. However, at this point, Ao Qian could no longer turn back. Chapter 4309. The Seven Stars Palace originally had 7 pagoda-shaped halls as its core. However, at the place where the 4 crystal tablets landed, dragon scales suddenly appeared on the 4 long corridors. After the crystal tablets fused with the dragon scales, the 4 long corridors actually separated from the pagoda-shaped halls and formed 4 independent dragon shapes. However, these 4 dragon shapes slowly rotated in the center of the Seven Stars Palace. Roar! Aoliang's figure was the fastest. As soon as the 4 dragon figures came out of the palace, he immediately shrunk his dragon body and entered it. Just as Aoliang's dragon body entered the palace, the entire Seven Stars Palace shook once again. Of course, the shaking this time was not as intense as the previous Seven Stars Grand Formation. However, after this shaking, a powerful dragon aura rushed out of the Seven Stars Palace and directly entered the sea above the palace. A huge whirlpool gradually formed. This whirlpool was rather strange. It was huge just a moment ago, but after it formed, it shrunk again. In the end, it actually became like an ordinary python that stood upright above the Seven Stars Palace. Roar, roar, roar. Aou, Ao Xiao, and Aog, the 3 old dragons, also rushed into the dragon shapes. In just a short moment, 4 whirlpools appeared above the Seven Stars Palace. When the 4 whirlpools were formed, the 4 old dragons actually spun faster. The 4 whirlpools quickly mixed together and formed 4 overlapping layers. Half of the whirlpool was hidden in the void and the other half was hidden in the sea. It was like a hole that stood upright above the Seven Stars Palace. And at this time, all of the water element origin energy within 10,000 miles of the Seven Stars Palace condensed into thumb-sized crystal lights. Like fish swimming in water, they dove into the whirlpool. A power even greater than an ordinary tsunami was born within the whirlpool. When Ao Qian saw this terrifying power, his heart felt like it was dripping blood. Damn it, these 4 old dragons actually want to suppress Xiao Hua. If this array directly kills him, then even if Xiao Hua is a 9th grade essence force, he probably won't be able to survive. Sigh, this king still needs to think carefully about how to deal with father when he returns. If even these 4 old farts are suspicious, then it seems that royal father will be suspicious as well. There was a common saying, if you want to kill someone, you must first make them crazy. Although Ao Qian was from the dragon race, he really fell into this common saying of the human race. If one were to carefully ponder over the details of how he framed Xiao Hua, there was no lack of flaws in it. In fact, there were many places that were not even worth considering. Especially the matter of the 3 princes of the South Sea Dragon Palace chasing Xiao Hua into the Seven Stars Palace. However, Ao Qian had already been forced to this point. He no longer felt that there was anything wrong. He only wanted to make this lie as seamless as possible. However, he did not know that the outcome had already been decided the moment he wanted to kill the 3 crown princes. Just as Aoshi was pondering over the flaws, a huge roar woke him up from his contemplation. Boom, boom, boom. The sea area within thousands of miles around the Seven Stars Palace trembled, as if the entire South Sea was sinking. The 4 vortexes fell one after another, and finally merged into one, which fell into the void of the Seven Stars Palace and disappeared. Along with the vortexes, the 4 old dragons disappeared. It was unknown whether they fell into the palace or the formation of the Seven Stars Palace. The rumbling sound grew deeper and deeper until it finally disappeared. The entire Seven Stars Palace gradually returned to normal. Following that, the 100,000 members of the Sea Tribe who had besieged the Seven Stars Palace also returned to normal. Although the members of the Sea Tribe had already set up the Overturn Oceans formation, the moment the 4 vortexes rushed into the Seven Stars Palace, a vast force emerged from the palace and rushed into the Overturn Oceans formation. The formation formed by the 100,000 members of the Sea Tribe was directly flattened by the overflowing force. The members of the Sea Tribe understood the power of the dragon image formation that had completely rushed into the bottom of the sea. Is it over? Aoxin, the great general of the South Sea, looked at the Seven Stars Palace worriedly, and then looked in the direction of the Dragon Palace. He knew that even if the 4 old consecrators appeared, he would not dare to believe it. Only when the master of the South Sea Dragon Palace appeared would he be completely at ease. Sure enough, the silence only lasted for the time it took to eat a meal. Boom, boom, boom. Violent tremors came from the bottom of the sea. The Seven Stars Palace shook violently, and the tremors rushed out from the ground, causing the seawater to surge violently. As a member of the Sea Tribe, Aoxin could not stand in the seawater. Aoxin's face was ashen, and he could not help but look at Ao Qian. At this time, although Ao Qian's face was deathly pale, there was an indescribable expression in his eyes. This expression seemed to be understanding, ecstasy, and also helplessness. As for Xiao Hua, he had not yet seen the metal, wood, and magnetic elements, but he had already profited greatly. He unconsciously flew down into the space in high spirits. The space was different from before. The originally crystal-like seawater had disappeared, and there was not a single drop of water in the entire space. Moreover, the lower Xiao Hua flew, the more obvious the faint magnetic force became. Sensing the magnetic force that could kill people at will, Xiao Hua's heart was bursting with joy. Because he was afraid that there would be other dangers in the space, Xiao Hua did not dare to teleport, but his speed was still very fast. In just half the time it took to eat a meal, his divine sense had already sensed a layer of restriction that was as thick as the earth under the space. Moreover, this restriction did not prevent the metal and wood magnetic forces from passing through. Quite a bit of magnetic force entered the space in the darkness, flickering with silver-white and green-green colors. It seems that little bastard Ao Qian has some plans. Xiao Hua was a great formation master. Although his divine sense was confined in this great formation, when he scanned this great formation, He saw that the magnetic force and the restriction had very tacitly merged together. He did not need to see the metal and wood magnetic forces in the light projection of the great god Xueqi to immediately understand that the great formation he was in was definitely not a great formation that suppressed the metal and wood magnetic forces, but a great formation with the metal and wood magnetic forces as the core. If he thought of the great formation's might and the benefits that Fengwu obtained, Xiaohua knew that this great formation should be the location of the Dragon Clan's trial in the Southern Sea Dragon Palace. It might even be a sacred place to awaken the Dragon Clan's bloodline. Ao Qian deceived him to come here, so he must have some ulterior motives. However, as to what his ulterior motives were, Xiaohua already disdained to guess. All of his schemes and plots were like floating clouds in front of a money grubber, who was already at the 9th level of origin energy. What is this? Right when Xiaohua's figure descended and his divine sense swept through the grand formation in preparation to look for a flaw, he was suddenly stunned. Because right at the grand formation, the corpses of over 10 dragons were scattered on the metal and wood magnetic field. Dragon corpses were naturally treasures to the human race. Xiaohua did not hesitate at all. With a sweep of his divine sense, he was about to store these dragon corpses into the space. However, his divine sense merely swept past these corpses. When he saw that a few of the dragon corpses were still wearing crowns, Xiaohua smiled again. However, this smile was so cold. Xiaohua casually waved his hand and took one of the dragon heads with a purple gold crown in his hand. Looking at the eyes of the dragon head that died with remaining grievances, and then looking at the purple gold crown, he sneered and said, "Damn it, so that's how it is. Ao Qian, this little bastard, had such an idea. He wants to make this Xiao a scapegoat? This dragon head is probably the head of the Southern Sea Dragon Palace's crown prince." As the 3 dragons swooped down, there was naturally a heaven-shattering, earth-shattering pressure. Oh! Xiaohua raised his head in surprise and looked at the 3 dragon forms pouncing towards him. Xiaohua had previously seen the power of the Great Array destroying heaven and earth, exterminating earth in the primitive continent. The power of these dragon forms was naturally far inferior to the Great Array set up by the happiness-absorbing heavenly devil. However, this kind of pressure was absolutely unstoppable in the space of the 7 Stars Palace's Great Array. This caused Xiaohua to be a bit startled after being surprised. He hurriedly raised his hand and wanted to take out a magic treasure to resist. Chapter 43:10. At this moment, the 3 dragon forms underwent another change. After the first dragon form descended 1,000 feet, its entire body rapidly expanded. Streams of dragon breath mixed with multicolored light gushed out from the dragon patterns on its body. Within this multicolored light, the scenes of the Desolation Catalog that Xiaohua had seen before flashed. The dragon's body instantly covered the entire space. A boundless aura was emitted from the dragon's body. That seemingly incomparably heavy pressure once again rushed out from this aura, and it was several times stronger than before. Looking at the second dragon form, at the same time as the first dragon form covered the entire space, it also gradually expanded. However, this dragon form did not emit multicolored light, nor did it emit any Desolation Catalog. Instead, it transformed into layers of turbid gas. This turbid gas fell into the void and quickly disappeared. Xiaohua was naturally shocked. He quickly scanned with his divine sense, but he did not find any trace of the turbid gas. Just as Xiaohua frowned, the turbid gas strangely appeared under his feet again. Like a thick layer of dust, it sprinkled onto the restriction that was previously as heavy as the earth. "Io, not good." Xiaohua seemed to have understood something, and he secretly cursed in his heart. Sure enough, as soon as the turbid energy descended onto the restriction actually started to condense into pieces, and then numerous enormous dragon scales appeared on it. In just a short moment, the entire restriction was like the body of an enormous dragon, and it even seemed like a thick and heavy piece of land. What shocked Xiaohua the most was that this earth began to move towards the sky. A wave of pressure that was exactly the same as before was born at the same time. However, this time, the direction was completely different from before. Roar! The last dragon form's dragon roar was much louder than before. Moreover, as the dragon form pounced forward, the different dragon forms on the surface of the dragon form's body constantly changed. Every time they changed, the pressure and restrictive power would increase by a bit. When the dragon forms were clearly visible, the power of the heaven, earth, and dragon forms formation that the old silver dragon Ao spoke of was already several times stronger than before. Facing such a powerful formation, even a Dao sect cultivator like Xueqi, who was a 9th grade essence energy cultivator, had a change in expression. His hand that was about to take out a magic treasure from the space stopped on the spot. Xueqi understood in his heart that the best choice now was to flee and temporarily avoid the brunt of the attack. When the dragon image that represented the attack missed, he would then calmly deal with it. However, just as his figure was about to move, the entire space was strangely suffused with dragon patterns. These dragon patterns completely blocked the space, and the fluctuations within the dragon patterns even confined the space. Not to mention dodging, even flying a few feet became difficult for Xueqi. Damn it! Xueqi roared angrily. He rubbed his hands together, and thousands of lightning bolts were born from his hands. After destroying the dragon patterns near him, they turned into monstrous lightning and formed layers of lightning mist above his head. This lightning mist roared and attacked the dragon patterns, and even welcomed the descending dragon image. Whoa! The dragon shook its body slightly, and with a gust of wind, a small whirlpool appeared from the dragon's body. It spiraled toward the overflowing lightning mist. Speaking of which, it was quite strange. When the whirlpool descended, all the lightning mist suddenly stopped wreaking havoc and automatically flew towards the whirlpool. In fact, the small whirlpool even controlled all the lightning mist within the entire space. This dragon image actually has the power of a domain? Xueqi was truly stunned. At this moment, the dragon image seemed to have absorbed the lightning mist, and its aura increased greatly. Roar! A dragon roar that shook the space rang out again. The entire space was shaking, and Xueqi felt that his body could not stand stably within the space. Looking at the dragon image again, it suddenly accelerated its speed of descent. The sky formed by the dragon image in the sky and the earth formed by the dragon image under its feet were actually controlled by the dragon image. It pounced toward Xueqi with unparalleled power. It was as if the entire world was about to close in front of Xueqi. It was truly terrifying. Sensing that the space was becoming more and more sealed, and that his domain was being destroyed by the dragon image, Xueqi came to a realization. Damn it, this is trying to suppress this Xiao. It seems like Ao Qian wants to capture both the person and the stolen goods. However, at this point, not to mention the stolen goods, you can forget about even seeing the person. While speaking, Xueqi's gaze swept across the space. When the dragon image descended, countless dragon scales and dragon patterns had already surrounded the surroundings. In addition to the cage formed by the merging of heaven and earth, he coldly smiled, patted his own head, and said, "Where is the celestial? Evil dragon, don't be so rampant. I am coming." The celestial roared and flew out from Xueqi's body. Although the entire space was sealed by the dragon image formation, the celestial's body still flashed with a bronze brilliance. His body rapidly expanded, and in a short moment, he turned into a golden body that was thousands of feet tall. He waved his fist and smashed towards the dragon image that was pouncing toward him. The 4 old consecrators of the Southern Sea Dragon Palace activated the Heaven and Earth Dragon Great Array. Although their dragon bodies were guarding the top of the 7 Stars Palace and did not fall down, within the dragon image they formed, there were also their respective avatars. Seeing the celestial suddenly appear, the 4 consecrators within the dragon image were startled. Then roar. The dragon image let out a provocative roar, waved its dragon claws, swung its dragon tail, and used the power of heaven and earth to fight the celestial. However, although the battle between the dragon image and the celestial tore the space into pieces, and there were continuous rumbles, the sealing of heaven and earth did not stop at all. It slowly pressed down on Xueqi. Humph. Xueqi coldly snorted again, patted his own head again, and said, "Where is Wenqiu?" Boom. As Xueqi's voice fell, 5 colored qi rushed out, and Wenqiu's figure appeared from the qi with the 3-foot sword in his hand. As soon as Wenqiu appeared, he immediately perceived everything from Xueqi's mind. He slightly smiled, opened his mouth, and the Heaven and Earth Pagoda came out from his body. He said, "The Southern Sea Dragon Palace has the Heaven and Earth Dragon Great Array to suppress it, but I also have the Heaven and Earth Pagoda. Let's see if my human race's Heaven and Earth Pagoda can open this Heaven and Earth." The Heaven and Earth Pagoda fell into the sky, And when Chu opened his mouth again, the 5-colored chi turned into 5 clouds and rushed into the Heaven and Earth Pagoda. The Heaven and Earth Pagoda also let out a loud rumbling sound, and in the time it took to drink a cup of tea, it had turned into a giant pagoda. There is no noble chi in this space. How can this Confucian cultivator activate the imperial equipment? Aou's avatars in the dragon image whispered in surprise. The moment he was distracted, boom! The celestial punched the dragon image's abdomen. The dragon image trembled and was almost sent flying. Although the celestial was powerful, he could not resist the power of 4 dragon avatars and the dragon image. This first move gave him a chance to breathe under the suppression of the dragon image. Boom boom! The Heaven and Earth Pagoda and the Heaven and Earth Dragon Great Array finally came into contact, and the entire space let out 2 loud rumbling sounds. The seemingly unstoppable Heaven and Earth were stopped by the Heaven and Earth Pagoda just like that. How is this possible? Aou and the other 4 consecrators did not dare to disturb the avatars any longer. They all cried out in surprise from above the Great Array. Ao Liang's dragon body danced, and he clamored as he prepared to pounce down and kill Wen Chu. Damn it, where did this Confucian cultivator come from? How dare he go against the Southern Sea Dragon Palace? Let's see if I don't kill him. Ao Liang, shut up. Aou hurriedly stopped him. If you go, won't the Great Array collapse? Not to mention killing the Confucian cultivator, even Xiao Hua will escape. Damn it! Although Ao Liang had a bad temper, he knew the severity of the matter. He cursed angrily and then became obedient. Let's activate the Great Array. Aog sneered. Although the imperial equipment of this Confucian cultivator is powerful, that Confucian cultivator is also alone. We 4 dragons, plus the power of the Great Array, should definitely be able to defeat this imperial equipment. That's right, we only need to suppress it. There's no need to think about killing it. Aou echoed, and the 4 old dragons once again activated their dragon power. Creak creak. Although the Heaven and Earth Pagoda was powerful, Wen Chu alone was not comparable to 4 old dragons. In just a few breaths, the Heaven and Earth Pagoda emitted an ear-piercing sound and began to shrink slowly. Wen Chu frowned and sent a sound transmission to Xiao Hua below the Heaven and Earth Pagoda. Fellow immortal, I'm afraid I can't hold on for long. Fellow immortal, I don't think you can hold on for long either. Xiao Hua pinched his chin and looked at the ground thoughtfully. Hearing Wen Chu's reminder, he nodded and then looked up. Sure enough, the dragon image was abnormally fierce and had already entangled the celestial. Fellow Taoists, hold on for a while longer. Xiao Hua seemed to already have a card up his sleeve. He raised his hand and took out the Kunlun mirror. Under the urging of his spiritual power, a dazzling beam of light rushed out from the mirror and landed on the ground. Boom! Amidst the rumbling sound, the void that came into contact with the ground was forcibly opened by the Kunlun mirror. Roaring dragon patterns and metal, wood, and magnetic forces swarmed out from inside. What is Xiao Hua doing? Aog saw the void passage and was a little stunned. Is he trying to escape from the Great Array? But if he wants to escape, he should also go from another place. Oh no, this guy is going to attack the metal and wood magnetic forces. That's impossible. Aou was very puzzled. Xiao Hua wants to get the metal and wood magnetic forces. It should be a lie made up by that little bastard Ao Qian. We dragons don't dare to get too close to the metal and wood magnetic forces. How can he, a human, do it? While the 4 old dragons were still in shock, Xiao Hua's figure flashed, and he brought the Kunlun mirror with him into the tunnel in the void. Although the tunnel was filled with dragon patterns and metal and wood elemental magnetism, under Xiao Hua's unparalleled lightning, they were all turned into ashes. Sure enough, this guy wants to escape. Ao Liang shouted. Let's do it quickly. He can't escape. Although Aog was a little puzzled, he still said confidently, the metal and wood magnetic forces space is also a part of the Heaven and Earth Dragon Image Great Array. Although we can't control the space there, if he can escape from the magnetic forces space, we can still suppress him. Besides, this old man doesn't believe he can escape from the metal and wood magnetic forces space. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.